All right, we're live. Welcome. Maybe I should just switch it to my own face. Welcome. Going live today to go over my most popular template, my most popular shop item at my rabbitdesign.net store. And I'll tell you, it takes like 12 hours to go over the pro plan. So we're not going to do everything that's involved here. If you're coming in and you don't have the pro plan, stick around, because not only will you learn about it, get a demo of it, but you also might just get some ideas for your own template. Maybe you're not ready to purchase the pro plan, but you can see kind of what goes on behind the scenes and implement your own ideas for your own template. You know, that's what I'm here for. This is a share of information. If you do have the pro plan template, it's such a massive thing to know everything that's going on with this template and learn everything about it and everything it's capable of. And hopefully you're using it and having fun, and it's improving your workflow. But you probably learned some things that you didn't know about here. And so if you have questions, please make sure to ask your questions. I'll pin them up on the screen so that everybody sees them. This is a multicast, so it's going through Facebook and YouTube. And so I can pin things up on the screen so other people can see the question that I'm responding to. And feel free to blow up the chat boards and talk to other people in the chat, because that's fun too. I don't have anyone helping me today, so it's a little bit of work for me to find these chats and throw them on the screen while I'm working. So someone's saying that they're getting an echo right off the bat, and I don't know that I know how to fix that. There shouldn't be any echo coming from this because I've only got one mic input, and I don't have much volume on my speakers, so that echo might be on your end if you're getting that. And then yeah, so I'm here for the questions, but I'll probably just start by reviewing some of the major features and going from there. It's really tough to even think about. It takes less time to draw a whole construction document than it does to explain how this whole thing works. With this, if that tells you anything, I could draw a whole document now. In fact, we have one user that's used this pro plan to draw a document in about 4.5 hours, which is very quick. That's new construction, and that's something to note. I do primarily residential remodels and additions, but this is set up to do new construction, and the template is meant to work for everybody. I've put a lot of work into it to try to make it work for your interior designers, for your kitchen and bath designers, for your remodelers, and for your new construction. So it takes a bit of setup to make that template yours. And then another thing to note is I push out a lot of updates during the year. So there is some processes where you need to either do a manual update to your version because you've made a lot of setting changes specific to what you need, or you're getting a streamlined method to modify the pro template for your needs. And the X16 versions of these templates put a lot of effort into making it so that you can change things pretty quickly, pretty easily. And hopefully that only gets better over time. I've got some new ideas for the X17 versions. So there you go. And for those people that came from the X15 versions to the X16 versions, they will tell you I added a bunch of tools packaged up in the X16 versions, along with a complete rewrite, and I gave a discount. So know that it matters to me that you purchased at some point. So yeah, down the line, X17 templates, I do give discounts for those kind of things. If you ever have questions about that, just gotta let me know. And let me just take a look at some comments here. Yeah, we got people saying good on the mic. That's good. And then latency issue. There we go. All right. And can you show what you're referring to? I'm fairly new to your channel and haven't viewed all of your content yet. Yes, absolutely. We're going to be looking right now at what I'm referring to, which is, this is my Chief Architect plan template. And it just makes my life easier. And I'm such a fan of Chief Architect. I really, without it, I'm not sure what I'd be doing. I'd probably still be building. So I've always loved this software. I've been in it for many years, and starting in 2016, I started building an infrastructure for kind of storing my catalogs of items. And so this is a package that includes a bunch of items and includes my templates. Includes over 1,000 library items, and then it includes the toolbars that you see here, which everything on these toolbars is linked to a tool that comes in this package, with the exception of my fireplace tools, which are about 6 tools on the left-hand side here, which you can't see right now. Zoom in on them, those guys. Everything else is included here, and I'll get into that probably in about 20 minutes or so. I'm going to start with, someone asked right here, what are some of the features of the plan that is helpful for remodels and additions? Specific to remodels and additions, probably a few of the things that are helpful is just my dimension defaults, how they work, and then also I do give you some new versus existing wall types, as well as a few other wall types as well. Out of the box, Chief gives you this icon for your exterior wall. Unfortunately, I wish that it was more of a generic icon, because then you could use that icon for a brick wall, which is what I'm doing here. And my toolbars, when you hover over them, they're going to tell you what they are. Okay, so you're going to see here, got a new exterior wall versus straight interior wall, new interior wall. I reuse that icon for brick 6, because straight pony wall, etc. down the line. And I give you a couple additional wall types in here. All right, these are custom placed library objects, and then they link to a object in your library. So that's what that's doing. So you can save a wall type to your library, link it to a custom placed library object, change the icon for that. And so that's what I've done here. And so when I click on this, this is just drawing a wall type from my library. And then we open it up and we can see that this one in particular is a pony wall system. And this is meant for building out walkout basements. So to show you just new versus existing would be, here's my new exterior wall type. And my wall types derive their fill color from the layer that they're on. And I want to note that something that I'm very proud of about the Pro Plan is that I've used very few custom layers. When we get into Aldo, our active layer display options, you're going to see that most of the layers here are default out of the box. Most of the customization I do in the Pro Plan are in default settings and utilizing macros in kind of an advanced way, as well as utilizing CAD blocks in our CAD details within Project Browser. So most of the layers aren't custom. That means a couple things. It's easy to pick up if you're a new user. It's easy to train new users, because they get to use a lot of the content coming from Chief Architect to learn, because we're not messing around with a lot of custom layers. So that just makes it a little bit easier. A few of the custom layers, one of those custom layers is going to be my exterior wall versus interior wall. So here's my existing interior wall. Here's my new interior wall. And I'm still going to be on this question for just a little bit to show remodels versus additions. Something that's probably a big one for me is I introduced a tool that I call the annotation tool. And so this plan right now, what's happening with this plan, and you'll see a little note here, is existing false. What this is doing is it's checking the name of the plan file itself, so that if we were to save this plan, and I'm just going to save this anywhere, and I'm just going to say untitled, I'm going to spell that wrong, -AB. Notice I put -AB. When I say save, what happens is it says is existing is true. And a number of things happen in the plan template once it sees that this is an existing plan versus a new plan. One of the things that happens is conventions for our labels change. I have some really complex things going on in the background of this window to make this work, and it makes it dynamic in a way. So one is I give you a set of tools here, and those set of tools are dynamic across a couple different systems. So truncate label, and I've got a battle with my friend Kevin Tran, so he wants me to call that abbreviate label. But when we click on this window, it's going to stack that window label, okay? I've got another tool here that will revert it back. I've got another tool that will say, hey, we want to remove this window. Go ahead and see the new plan file, okay? Now, this is conditioned on whether or not this plan file is existing or new. If it were new, it would just say existing window. It's going to make the assumption that this is an existing window for the purpose of showing your municipality that it's a window that remains unchanged. So this is some of those smart features that are built into this system. I'm going to just drop in another window here, and we're going to show you that there's actually a threshold for width. So if we drop the width of this down to a certain threshold, it's going to go ahead and abbreviate or truncate or stack that label. Now this is all user configurable. It's user configurable in a CAD block that I push off to the side here, which is that we've got several different links. One is project label options. And this is where I give you ways to modify these smart systems. We've got a ton of things happening behind the scenes in terms of labels that are supposed to be making your life easier for annotations so that you're not typing. The less typing you're doing, the less liability we have for error, right? And so that's the approach here. So we've got room label options, we've got window label options. You're going to see right here, we're going to stack that label dimension if it's less than 36 inches. So you get to come in here and change that amount. You can say that, we're going to stack that label if it's 24 inches. Do we want to include the schedule number? Do you want to have an automatically placed X in between your dimensions on that? If you're in a state that requires U-factor and solar heat gain coefficient minimum numbers, if the window is outside of those numbers, it's going to do something different. So, and then if you need to change your acronyms, and this goes across the whole system, including, even for sliders, do we want to show XOXO or do you want to show left hand, right hand, etc. for sliders? So this is smart annotations as best as I can put it together. And I'll just give you an example of this. Is when we drop in a slider, there you go, there's your XO slider. See, it flips that there. If for some reason, maybe we've got a slider that is another 7 feet in width and we've got a 4-panel, unfortunately, Chief isn't going to figure out that this is a 4-panel. Maybe it's 3-panel right, 1 panel left, etc. So how do we fix this name now? We'd have to go in and mess around with that label. Well, not too much. I've got some back end kind of features in this where we can just type in anything we want into, say, the supplier, and it's going to go ahead and parse that to the label. So this is just featuring a couple little quick tips and tricks for how that labeling system works. Advanced labeling still happens even in our cabinet. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this plan down, and then we'll pop open a new plan. I like to just work from something clean. But my cabinet labels work very similar to the window labels. They've got a lot of smart things going on inside of them. And with this Pro Plan template comes my kitchen tools. And my kitchen tools are a ton of items. It's a huge library. Out of that huge library, you get 2 toolbar icons that are, I think, about 45 different icons. And there's single click actions to do things very, very quickly. So single click, get a 2-drawer base. So we spray this, you get a 2-drawer base. And the Pro Plan knows what this is. It sees a couple of parameters in the cabinet itself. It uses a match system through macros and figures out what this is. So same thing, if I click on a garbage base, it's going to pick up that this is a garbage base. It also is going to pick up if it drops below a threshold, it's going to understand that this is probably a spice cabinet. So we'll get into those kitchen tools in a bit, because that can steal an hour just by itself. I'm going to look at the comments here real quick. All right, nice. So you already have it. Make sure to ask any questions that you might have about its use. Is it supposed to have a W? Yes. Typically, when we're ordering um, a window order, we're also going to be ordering the doors from the same vendor. So that's why we include this in our window and door schedule. If you didn't want to have the W, specifically the W, we could always modify the schedule that this is in. And let's take a look at the schedule, the window schedule. The window schedule is a bit advanced as well. We're running window schedule left to right here, and then I include some additional info here, and some of this is macro driven. So for one is that exterior frame, interior frame, this is going to grab information from the actual material being sprayed on the window to understand what kind of finish it is. So if you have specific finishes, specific types of windows that you're ordering, you can just name those finish options in terms of naming Chief Architect's materials and spraying those on the window frame. And then I've got some smart stuff here, figuring out what headers are, header height, jam size, etc. There's our U factor. So here's what my schedule is looking like, and then we can open this schedule up, and underneath labels, if you wanted to, you could just omit this W, and it's going to get rid of that in the schedule. Maybe you use something more ambiguous, but yeah, typically on an order form, I'm going to order my windows with my exterior doors from that same. Sometimes I go through a window broker. Sometimes I'm going straight to the dealership. Does it have minimum egress window size? No, egress is a particularly challenging macro to figure out. I'm part of the way there. A lot of that is a limitation in the software on what reports from a window. For those users that are a lot more advanced, you're going to know that we've got a few tools here for people that are trying to figure out macros. So these two guys right here, Object Info Macro and Rab's Macro Search. The Macro Search tool, you just pop this in, point it to something, and it's going to pick up, out of the box, it's going to pick up any kind of measurement that item reports. And then you can also use this as search terms. So let's just say we were looking for any kind of material that item reports. And so I just changed the search term. And I can even put a comma in here and put an additional search term. Okay. And then that's going to pick that up as well. So that's our search tool. This is showing all the reporter values for that window within the parameter of that search. And then the object info macro, very similar, except that it's going to report everything that a window reports in terms of its publisher values. And you can see that that's a ton of stuff. But Windows do not report a few things that would be really helpful for figuring out minimum egress. I have written a code to tell you a percentage of glazing. That code is pretty bulletproof, except for when you get into custom arched windows with custom grids, and then that's when it fails. But other than that, it will report a percentage of glazing, which will get you really close to sizes of egress windows. But the complexity there is that you have to figure out, what the width of the window is. Then you have to figure out, is this a slider, for instance? Then you have to figure out interior sash width to be able to give that minimum spacing and sizing. I actually have a plan to release that for the X17 versions, but it's going to be a while. So good question. Yeah, I understand that. I do have, I'm just commenting on Scene Sense. He says, okay, great. I was associating W with window in my brain in terms of that W on an exterior door. And the thing I would just say about that is put it into my suggestions, which means that you can throw it onto our forum, which is rabbitdesign.net/forum. Or you can put it into the Discord server, which we use to run a bunch of info through and And there is a section in there that's called suggestions. So if you want to see some kind of conditional check for a door, and if it's a door, go ahead and switch that label from W to D. I would just be a little bit wary of that. W at least tells your manufacturer that we're associating this with Windows, and so I know what schedule to look at for this particular item. So that's why I would probably want to leave it, but there you go. So I want to go over something else that is back to the question about new versus existing. And I'm going to draw in some exterior walls here. And this is going to be a garage, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the room type and show you what happens when I change the room type. Let's get into our project information, and that's just a quick link. It jumps us to a CAD detail, and in this CAD detail, we've got a bunch of information. And some of that information is that we're doing lot analysis on the fly. The Pro Plan's doing this as you draw, okay? And it's based on rooms. It's based on rooms on the first floor. I give you a couple tools to add things to be calculated for in terms of, maybe you've got something on, maybe you got a walkout basement, and so you've got additional floor coverage on second floor, first floor, what have you. I give you tools to add to that, but you can see here, it's calculating percentage of coverage based on a lot size. That lot size is going to be in your plot plan, save plan view. But I want you to notice that new coverage right now is set to 0 square foot. What happens is if I open up this room and I set it to be an addition, okay? I set it to be an addition. I can change the label to whatever I'd like, whatever. But because the room type is addition, you'll notice that it just picked this up in new coverage. And so it's recalculated our percentage of coverage right off the bat. So this is just all working behind the scenes as we're going through things. If there was a particular room that I didn't want to include in something, I've got a tool to kind of limit that in the calcs. Notice that all of a sudden our existing coverage dropped down to 0. That's because I sprayed this item. I can use another tool and spray it back on, and you're going to see it's going to put it back into that calc. So super quick and easy way of doing lot analysis. Let me just switch to my plot plan view. And please note, in my saved plan views, I'm giving you a bunch of what we call working views. These are views that you're free to mess up in active layer display options. Turn on layers, turn off layers, doesn't matter. It's not going to affect your print set, right? Your print set is all these other saved plan views. And I tried to limit these. We've added a couple in the last few versions. I had an overwhelming amount of people wanting a plumbing layout and then an HVAC plan. So we added a few things in here for that. And then some that I find to be a little bit different, but somewhat redundant, is the foundation plan is very similar to the framing floor plan. It's just framing floor plan is essentially a foundation plan that includes framing. So if I get into my working terrain view here, this is really where I'm going to set up just terrain. So I'm going to use my elevation tools to just pop in here and build out that terrain very quickly. Okay, and then from here, and if we just set some value here, let's just call it 24 inches. Maybe we open or build the terrain, etc., and it's going to, give us some intermediate contour lines. So working terrains where I'm going to build that out. The plot plan is where I'm going to build out my lot size. So this is where I'm going to conform this shape to my actual lot size. And notice that it's picking up 6894. Well, you look on the right. Yes, that is part of the lot analysis. So it's building that out on the right-hand side. And then I give you a few CAD blocks here to kind of help you build out your plot plan. By default, this shows our walls underneath roofs, but this is actually a reference display, so we could turn that off if we wanted to. It just depends on how you want to set up the view for your plot plan. I'm going to show you a couple other things in the project information section. One in particular is going to involve this input address in client information. There's a particular, I see a few comments coming in, and I'm going to hit those up in just a second. There's a particular approach that you have to take if you want to utilize some of Chief Architect's global macros. And what I mean by that is, if we were to just type in a text box here and use the macro drop down menu and get into the global section, such as file info or plan info, etc. If you want to utilize those to do something conditional and use it across the whole system, unfortunately, the only way to do that is you have to have a polyline and drop that information with some specific coding into that polyline. So there's some places where you're just going to see a line that says, hey, don't delete this. It's doing something. And that's just a limitation of the software, if you will. But if I get into tools, designer, client information, and then get into the client information panel, and I type in Joe Smith and a number of different things that are explained over here on the sidebar, what this is doing is it's actually going to build out your full project information, including scope of work, including your assessor's parcel number. If you're in California, it will search all known zip codes and even pull in your climate zone based on that zip code. If you're in some other state, make sure to send me a tabulated list and I will format it and get it into the pro plan. I've only done this for one user so far, and I know there's like 250 of you out there. So let me know if you've got an ordered list for your zip codes and their associated climate zones. So let me just go 1, 2, 3 for Dove Street. Why not? And Oakland. And notice that it's starting to build out that project information. Didn't hit up scope of work because that's coming from another input that I didn't put, but it's also building this out. And what's happening is this is sent to your layout. So it's automatically sending this to your associated layout with the pro plan. The other thing that it did is it built out and kind of understood what the street name is from that. And notice when we get back into plan view, this is automatically putting Dove Street. It's removing the prefix, any kind of suffix, and just picking out that this is Dove Street. Bam. So got some simple things like this that are happening in the pro plan kind of behind the scenes. And it's all just to eliminate potential error, really cut down on the amount of time that you have to be working. And yeah, let me take a look at what comments we've got going on. What if you're ordering your window or door not from a major supplier? Can it be edited? Absolutely. You're just in that window schedule itself. If I'm going to switch back to my working plan, and we'll go find that window schedule. You can do this from X16 now, by the way. And this is my edit toolbar, usually at the bottom of your screen. I just have it floating. So if you have a window selected, you can use this icon, find schedule from object, and it's going to bring us to that schedule. And then we'll just open this schedule up. And in general, you're going to notice that I've got certain doors included here, exterior doors specifically. So you would just uncheck this. And if you want to isolate that in some other schedule, that's how you would do it. So I would actually just copy this schedule down. So I'd copy this schedule down, put it in its own CAD detail, come in here, open this, uncheck the doors so that it doesn't include those anymore. Come in that next one and uncheck windows. And now you've effectively isolated this. And the last thing that you would do is change your prefix to D. So now you've got that prefix. It's also giving us all the additional information that I had included in that particular door, so that you don't have to rebuild some kind of a schedule. And the last thing is maybe you would change in the general panel, you would change this to just exterior door schedule. Same thing in that window panel. Excuse me, the general panel window schedule, right? And so now we've isolated these. And let me just go ahead and open up. We're going to open up a layout, and this is the pro layout that comes with the pro plan. And I'm going to go ahead and save this plan. So we have a target here. Let's just call this entitled AB again. And then in layout, when you first open layout, it's going to give you an error because it's looking for a file that it does not have, because it's got pre-sent views from that file. That's essentially how a warehouse plan is set up in Chief Architect. So what we're going to do is change the reference files. And in this case, I'm going to change this example new that it was looking for the file that I just saved, which is my project. It's my active project I'm working on. It will then populate based on that. So notice that the layout just picked up that plot plan that we were just working on, right? And so let me go forward a few pages, and we're going to see that I've got a window order overview page. The window order overview, it sees a condition in the layer set, and then what it does is it sees whether or not a window is to be included or not, and it's going to either label W01 in this case, but if in fact we pasted this window over here and we use the tool to say that there's no work being done on this window, look what happens. It says not applicable. We switch back to a typical floor plan view, and it's going to say, hey, this is assumed to be some window that's removed. That's because this is an as-built plan. Otherwise, it would just say existing window. So that's what's happening there. And then we've got our window order overview. Now, typically this is too long for the sheet, so you're going to have to truncate or abbreviate and then copy paste this. Copy paste hold position, extend this past that point of abbreviation so that you're continuing this on some other sheet, right? But kind of the same thing is we can copy paste this, drag this down, and then use our pan edit tools. If I'm going to just turn off the drawing sheet so we can see this, our pan edit tools, and you're going to drag this up, and then there's our door schedule, and you can pop that on a new page. So that would be a quick way of doing that. I'm just looking through some of the other views here. Let me turn the drawing sheet on. Here's a cabinet schedule. It's got a bunch of additional information. And then we start to get into roof schedule, which I include. So when you populate your roof plan on this page, the typical order of operations here is that you get your plan on the sheet exactly where you want it. Maybe you need to pan it around just a little bit, something like this. And then once you've got that set up, you would copy this, bring it forward to say that roof plan, paste hold position, and then change that link to the view that you need. So now we know this is exactly in the same drawing space. Okay, it's in the exact same drawing space. So it's lined up, sheet space. It's lined up across all pages. I'm a big stickler about lining up elements across pages. And then we'll get into, here we go, we get into our stackable detail system. And I have a video about this system, but this is always an impressive thing to go over. Let me check some comments real quick. Start to finish, no, I have not picked up a project that was a new versus existing house in quite some time. I've been doing a lot of infill drafting for other contractors, so I have not done a start to finish project in the Pro Plan in quite some time. The only one I have was really a simple one, so it won't really be utilizing everything that's in this. So no, if you got a project you want to do start from finish, yeah, talk to me. I try to keep my rates really low. Where do you suggest having the designer contact info? Designer contact info, I don't build out. I leave that to you. So you can do that any way that you would like to do that. If you didn't know, you can get into edit preferences, and let's see, where is this? I believe it's in new plans. In new plans, you can copy designer information from templates for new plans. And that's what I would probably do right there in new layouts. Okay. And so what that's doing is that's copying from the template. You only have to set it up once and then send it to some kind of CAD detail so that it's just populating for you. And so if you need that designer information on your sheet, I do it a little bit different. I mean, I just have a graphic here that, lets people know Rabbit Design, but I know certain municipalities need to see the designer of record. So put that in suggestions if that's something that you want to see in the title box. with the Pro plan, I give you 4 different looks for layout files. So I'll just show that real quick. So we've got a layout template A, which is going to be a pretty, this is a pretty old school, old looking standard title block setup here. Okay, so that one's going to be, that's going to be something that's probably pretty familiar. And then I give you template B. B's certainly a lot more modern. We've got kind of this triangle check on the side here. This one gives you a lot of sheet space, so that part's nice. And then title block information is just on that first page and doesn't give you much else. So that's definitely more of a modern look. C is going to be kind of another modern look. I use C for 11 by 17 because it's got a huge sidebar here. And I dropped a lot of the schedules and legends and everything in that sidebar. And then there's certain sheets. I'm on a new machine. If you didn't know, that's a little glitch there. You just got to zoom in and out. But this also gives you a lot of width, and notice that certain pages are utilizing a template B. So you see that that divider is cut right here on this view. Divider is cut on elevations. And then it goes back on such things as floor framing, roof framing, etc. And then the main one that I typically use is my template D, which is the one I was just in. And so something clever that's about the layout templates is that on this first sheet, we do give you a sidebar info here where if you're someone that's building walkout basements, I give you a way to change what floor name is being used for your views. And so something that's happening here is if we go look here, note that this is saying existing main level floor plan. What this is doing is it's seeing that there's an AB in the name of the file itself. Okay, so it's seeing there's an AB in the name. It's putting a prefix existing. It's also seeing what floor level it's on. Now let's say that this was actually a walkout basement. Let's make it a walkout basement. In fact, let's even save this as a -N or -new. Okay, so now this is untitled new. I'm going to go ahead and change the reference files for layout. So this example AB untitled AB, we're going to make this untitled new. We're going to change this example AB to untitled AB. So if you didn't catch what I did just then, the plan file we started with is untitled AB, and I just resaved it as untitled new. I associated that with the layout. It's going to populate these pages. What you'll see here is that it just changed this to proposed main level floor plan. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that proposed building. I'm going to add a new floor. So we just added a second floor to this. Okay. Now let's say this is actually my main level and the floor below is actually my walkout basement. So back in my layout, I want to get back to that page, G1, and in the layout label options, I'm going to come to this sidebar and just open this up. Walkout basement then is in fact true. We do have a walkout basement. And maybe I don't want to be calling it main level. Maybe I want to just call this first story instead. What this is doing is it's telling Chief that, hey, even though Chief has this as a first story, or excuse me, even though Chief has this as a second story, we want to call it first story. All right. So when I come back, we're going to see that this is proposed basement floor plan. All right. So that's that bottom level. If we open this up, we're going to see here, this is linked to my view name floor plan. It's a saved plan view. What floor is it using? First floor. All right. We know that we've now said that this is a walkout basement, so it's proposed basement floor plan. So it's doing this for you automatically. If I duplicate this page, now I've got a next page. This is A3. All right. If I go back, there's A2. So go forward, A3. I'm going to open this again. I'm going to scroll this down to second floor. What's it going to do? Proposed first story floor plan. And that's correct. This is my first story floor plan the page before, that's my walkout basement. So it's doing that for us without us having to type in anything. I was looking through your shop. Do you have a video that covers what is all included in the Chief Architect Premier X16, the Essential Plan template? The Essential Plan template uses all of my macro label system. It uses, it is a stripped down version of the Pro Plan. It doesn't have the many CAD details that's included in this. So just go into the project browser and note that in this system, there's a ton of CAD details, okay? I think it's 70 CAD details. Some of these are what we call stackable details. If you're unfamiliar with that, with what that means, that's this page right here, where we can take any segment of this, what looks like a cross section, and this is actually all just individual details that are drawn specifically to line up, so that we could take this segment and find some kind of other roof detail such as this, and it will line up. And so now we've effectively built a new segment. So same thing, I can take this kind of foundation detail. Maybe I'll switch this to mono walkout like this, and I might even copy this down. And because this is built to line up, I might do the lower portion of a mono walkout. Right, so very quickly, here's our basement floor plan. We've built a huge section detail here from that. All right, so these are all included in this system. What's more is that all the annotations that are here, if you've never seen this system, this is all being derived from a switching system that works across the whole plan and all of its details. So if I were to get back to my plan here and come into macro designations, double click this, what this is doing is it's building out all of my details based on some input here. So for instance, we'll notice that this says 2x6 Doug fir, and it's pointing to that framing member. So if we get into that wall framing, maybe I want to switch this. I'm going to move 2x8 Doug fir up as an option, and we can add to this system. You can add to this system, the end user. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the row object and then close the dialog box. And what that does is it switched, not only did it switch it here, but it switched it across the entire system. So that you notice here now this says 2x8 Doug fir 24-inch on center. We're going to see that again down here. So it's building out sections extremely fast in that way, if that's something that you need to do. And then on top of that, this page just has a sample of some of the details that are included. And these are all dynamically linked back to the plan itself, okay? So this is stuff that's not in the Essentials plan. This is in the Pro plan only. So we'll notice just this flashing window ahead jam. If I get back to my plan here, and let's just say that's gonna, be referencing this window here. I give you tools, two different callout tools, and these are using a system that's a linked callout. And so there we go. I've dropped that callout in. I'm going to link it. I'm going to find that detail that I need, which in this case is it's a flashing detail, window head to pan. Let me press OK, and notice that it's automatically picking up the number that it is associated with on the layout sheet, D1. If I wanted to, I could move this, and these are all picking up labels based on a quadrant that they're in. And sometimes it just takes a little double click to kick this into action, but there we go. It's picked up that now this is moved on the page. So now it's D2. We come back to Untitled New, and you're going to see that this is updated here. So again, I'm really trying to limit the liability on your end by taking away any potential input errors from you, by making it so that you don't need to input all that much at all. So the Essential Plan doesn't have the CAD details. It doesn't have a few of specialized schedules that are in here, such as the braced wall panel schedule, which is going to get updated soon with some new cool stuff. And then it doesn't have all the tools that are included, which we haven't even gone over those tools yet. There's a ton of tools here. For example, I give you single click actions to change a window type. So we can see this is a left sliding window, and I can quickly just spray this, and it's going to change that to single hung or double casement, or single casement, etc. So it's not going to give you some of the architectural tools that comes with the Pro plan. You can always buy the Essential plan, which I think right now, oh, don't quote me on this, I'm not sure what the price of it is, but I will credit the Essential plan towards the Pro plan so long as we're in the same version cycle. So if you buy an X16 or still an X16, you want the X16 version of the Pro plan, I will 100% credit of the Essential plan towards the Pro plan. So if you want to, step in lightly and check it out and see what you like. The Essential plan is a bit underwhelming, but maybe that's a good thing. I know that a few offices use the Essential plan for some of their apprentice drafters, so that's kind of a good one. Or people that just don't need a lot of this extra automation and stuff. Maybe they don't need area analysis. Maybe their municipality just doesn't have a lot of the requirements that we're kind of handling in the Pro plan. All right, let's check out a couple of these comments here. Yes, you can always, if you try and draw a detail, that's the fastest way to get your detail integrated into that system, is if you send me a drawn detail that you've tried to draw. Otherwise, if you just have a PDF or a DWG, throw that in suggestions, and I do put that in the queue. And if it's something that I feel that's going to really benefit the group, I'll draw it. If it's something that I unfortunately don't think that anybody is going to need a particular detail, then I'm going to ask for commission-based thing. But if you've got a detail, quite a few of the new details came from other users that tried to draw it using the system. And in the next version of the Pro plan updates, I give you this sidebar, and this is utilizing special fills. And I'll go ahead and tell you guys here that don't have this template how this system works. I give you a set of fills here to draw your own details that will integrate with this system. I want you to notice something here. There's a text box. In that text box is a single macro execution. Okay, this is a Ruby script that's being executed based on what arrow this leader is connected to. What this is looking for is it's looking for this fill style. Specifically, what it's looking for is the fill style's angle. What you'll notice is, even though this is grayed out, the angle of this particular fill is 0.002. So what I'm doing is I'm creating an index of values, all right, a hash, if you will. And so we are associating things in this schedule system over here with that indexed hash, so that when we draw a leader to a new fill style, it's going to pick up what category this is in and then look up that information accordingly. All right, so if I were to drop this down to this one, siding similar to existing, what we're going to see here is we do in fact have something that designates siding. Here it is. All right, so that's orange, it's color coded, so we're looking for color coding. Exterior finishes, if I drop in this board and batten, open the row object, press OK. If it's doing its job, look, it's automatically switching. So I give you all the fill styles that you might need to draw detail, so that if I needed some kind of new detail, I might come to something that's already drawn. I might duplicate what's already drawn, name it whatever I need to. It's going to open up that CAD detail and then tweak around. One of the best tools to use here is the Stretch CAD tool, where I might just come in here, highlight these sections right here, stretch this out, and then we're not really affecting text or other things. Maybe we need to conform some little line there. But there you go. That's a pretty simple way of modifying a detail the way you might need it to be. And then all these details are supposed to be drawn to drafting standards, where we've got our section line cuts, etc. This is very overwhelming to go over. I'm going to highlight this comment here. The whole pro plan is a bit much for me to dive into at this time, but I'm very interested in using the stackable CAD details. Is there an easy way to utilize this? There is no way to extract those details from the pro plan, but I will tell you that you don't need to do anything specialized, especially you don't even need to understand how it all works to utilize it in a very simple way, which is that all I did was relink one view to another. I picked something out that looked like what I might need and relinked to that view. So um, it's simple to come in here and just change things out. And then if you don't want to get into how the quick switch annotation system works, there's nothing keeping you from just overriding the text that's in here. Some of this is actually just text. Some of it's not using a macro system. So you can come in here and like this slab base sand, a lot of this stuff is just text, but then some of it is utilizing that quick switching macro system. But you can always overwrite that text and hand draft again. There's no reason you can't just use this in a hand drafting setup. So you're not going to break a system by replacing what's there with some new text, overwriting that text. So you can use this stackable system in that way. Do your macros have to be reloaded when opening the program or file? On the switching system, yes. On things like labels, no. On the switching system uses what are called global macros, and global macros are cleared as soon as you exit the program, so that if you're going to do your detail page prior to a print, you'd really have to get in here and do your switching then, because otherwise you have to go back into this macro designation and open the row objects again for this sheet. It takes about 5 minutes to do that. So it's not the end of the world, but it is a little bit cumbersome. I've tried a ton of different ways of maybe getting around that, circumventing that. It's kind of a limitation on the software end. What he's asking about specifically is when we make a designation such as this, when I'm moving this up to the number 1 slot and opening that row object, and it's making that designation, when we close Chief down, it loses this designation, so that the next time I open Chief, I have to go open this row object again for it to reinitialize. So the X17 versions, I think I might have a method for doing this, but it takes a complete rewrite of this whole system, so I won't be doing that for X16. The other thing that you can do, and this is kind of an advanced thing, so we're getting into an advanced question here, but I would get into text macro management, and you can get into the schedule designator macro. And this is where we set initial values, so that if you're always doing the same kind of project over and over again, these are all the macros that are driving that system, in lieu of finding some schedule number 1 row object that we're initializing. So until that happens, these are the default values that it's falling back on. Okay. You could take that code, drop it into my website, and have my website rewrite it for you. And what I mean by that is, if you come to the forums on my website, we have in here a couple different utilities. By the way, in the Pro plan, on our working sheet, over on the right-hand side, we do in fact have a bunch of links here. We've got links to Pro plan videos to help you out. We've got links to the change log where it shows the 350 changes for this version. We've got seamless texture search, model search, code lookup. I've got a code lookup or code interpreter bot built in to my website. I've got a ChatGPT code interpreter. So if we click on the forum here, that takes us right away to our forum. You can ask questions here. And then the next part of this is that we've got a little Ruby script bot down here at the bottom, Kevin Transu bot. So you could dump that schedule designator macro in there and say and tell the Kevin bot that you want to change some of that text, and it can do it for you. So that's an option for you. Are there some 3D? Oh yes, there's some 3D. Oh yes, there is. There's a lot of cool 3D happening in the Pro Plan. Let me just, I'm gonna shut everything down real quick. And let's just do a new plan. Let's just build out a kitchen with the kitchen tools very quickly. So I can just grab this toolbar, and grab one more toolbar. And these are my kitchen tools and bath tools all together, okay? Maybe I'm gonna put my bath tools back. So here's the kitchen tools. So it's super simple to come in here and build out a kitchen very quickly. Let's just throw in 18-inch garbage pull out. We're gonna throw in maybe 33-inch sink, dishwasher, maybe a 3-drawer base. We'll leave room for maybe a 2-inch filler. Maybe we will turn this that direction so that then we are building out a peninsula here. Okay, something like that. Let's just grab these and give room for 2-inch filler again. Let's make sure that these were actually centered. And they're still not centered. What's happening there? That's funny. There we go. Now we got center. And then on the other side, let's keep up with that cabinet tool. Let's do 24-inch base. Let's do maybe a 12-inch base. Let's throw in a range. Let's throw in a wider base. And then I'm going to utilize the kitchen tools to spray all this stuff into some dynamic things here. So here's what we'll do. Kitchen tools have one-click actions to do a bunch of things. They work across different cabinet types. So they do something different based on the cabinet type you're spraying. So first up, let me just spray a refrigerator on here. We're just going to do the fridge painter. We'll paint this guy out. That's going to build out a fridge cabinet with an integrated fridge. And then let me use the double oven sprayer. We'll build out a double oven. So now we can just kind of point this in if we want to. A couple different tools for our wall cabinets. Let me extend this a little bit. We'll reflect this about. And then I do have a glass wall cabinet sprayer. Let's do a corner wall cabinet. Let's do a little guy in between there. We'll drop in, maybe we'll drop in a big triple casement window. We'll pump this up 6 inches on either side. Let's go triple casement, paint that in. We'll do a little wall cabinet over here. We'll use a shelf tool, which is cheating a little bit. That doesn't come with the Pro Plan, but here we go. We've got a few different sink options in here. Here's going to be a garbage pullout, spice pullout. Maybe we want a paneled front dishwasher. We'll kick in a couple 3-drawer bases, maybe a 4-drawer base. Let's go 2-drawer base next to the ovens. And then I've got a couple tools here for islands and peninsulas. So one of them is, and these are supposed to be kind of segmented out. So you can see here, we've got an arrow facing the overhang. So the arrow facing the overhang is going to spray for this guy. And then the arrow not facing the overhang is going to go the other direction. Before I even do that, let me throw in a base filler. And actually, that's not going to end up being a filler in the long run. But let's see if that overhang works on that filler. It does, in fact. I didn't even know that. We can do a marquee mode so that we can marquee all these cabinets right here. I can also marquee mode to do stuff like a closed toe. This is all included in the Pro Plan, by the way. So I just added a closed toe to everything here. Maybe I've got a couple of cabinets right in the middle, and I want these cabinets in the middle to be a different finish. So I've got a tool for that as well. We marquee that finish, closed toe. I'm going to make these a full height double door, both of them. And so let's just drop in a few lights. So very quickly, and I'm not worried about how those are all set up, but very quickly we're going to get to a scene here in just a minute. Now let's pull a view. I'm going to right click draw, alternate draw mode, and this is going to set us up for physically based rendering. And let me throw my kitchen tools back in here. So out of the box, the materials in the Pro plan and the settings and the backdrops that I include are supposed to be really good looking. I take my time building out materials and making sure they're up to my standards. Let's go ahead and change the overall height of this project. I'm going to pump it up 18 inches or something. And then we'll rebuild that scene. I'm also going to, out of the box, this is meant for fast rendering, really quick rendering. Okay, so we've got some settings here that are going to make it look a little bit muddy. Right now you can barely see it because we need to rebuild that 3D. But so this is for those systems that are a little underpowered on their graphics card. Or also if you just want to be drawing live and see what that looks like live, this is part of that. So we would edit the active view and kick on our super resolution back to native resolution, and maybe you want to kick up some sharpening, right? Or you could even enable depth of field. I'll give you a tool to target your depth of field over here on the right. So we can target this island, for instance, and now it's building depth of field based on that island. So just out of the box, we're going to get some pretty good looking renderings with the materials that are built into the Pro plan. The very cool thing about all the kitchen tools is that it's utilizing whatever your plan's default materials are, so that if your default material for appliances was gold, all of these would be gold as soon as you utilize those tools. So that's something that's built in there as well. So how we build these tools is I would add this to a style palette and build a style palette with specific parameters. And then when we open this up and get into the materials of the refrigerator right here, you're going to see that the material is set to whatever the default is, and then it lists what that default is. But if we change any of these defaults in our plan, it's going to automatically change that cabinet to match. So that means we can build out different defaults for different styles if you want, and so very quickly have a kitchen look exactly the way you need it to. And then within the Pro plan itself is I give a bunch of style palettes, and if you've never seen my library system for this, I use what I call stacked tags, so that if I want something like a style palette for a kitchen, I just clicked on kitchen and dining room and style palette, and you can see here it got to those items very quickly, so that I can click on something here and paint out the plan and quickly get a completely different looking kitchen just with a single click action. So that was cool, wasn't it? See if I can catch up with some comments. The startup effort. Well, the startup effort, it just really depends on what you're doing and what your needs are. And in the Discord and in the forums, you got a bunch of users that are happy to help you out. I reached out to my core user base that bought the first round of my templates, and I said, hey, the customer support for this is such that I don't make a profit on this product. And so really I'm just doing it because I love to do it. But I would love to make a product on this product, and that will help me improve it. And those core users came back and said, build us a place where we can support you, and we will. Which, I tell you what, that feels really good. That chokes me up a little bit. And they've been awesome. And that community is growing. And so what I would tell you is, even if you feel like it's overwhelming, the support end of things is coming from the community, and they're helping me out. They're helping me build. I feel like I have a knack for this, and I have people that are just telling me to keep going. So that feels really special. So if you feel like something's overwhelming in a setup, I'd say put something out there in the community, and they'll come back to you with some solutions and answers for you. I think out of the box that this is simple to use, but I've been told many, many times that sometimes when I think it's simple, it's not at all. So Um, I love all of the automation. I do feel like you get to just come in here and draw and not worry too much. I feel like you can just come in here and it just works. And so that's the thought. And so you can play around with things. The toolbars can be overwhelming for people. I give you a bunch of different toolbars. Here's our basic out-of-the-box one that just includes some of my specialized tools, which we haven't even gone over these tools yet. Here's the out-of-the-box MEP. Here's the out-of-the-box extended tools, but just with my tools that I've added on here. And then if you want to, you can right-click and add on the kitchen tools. Okay, so these are those out-of-the-box toolbars, so maybe it's not overwhelming. I give you kind of a light version of my full toolbars so that maybe it's not as overwhelming. And then I'm just used to seeing the number of tools that are here, so that's not overwhelming to me anymore. Other than that, it should just be an out-of-the-box things. You see that it's automatically doing our dimensions. You'll see that as we start to label things such as kitchen, that some things are just automatically doing things, like this compass rose picked up that this is now a kitchen, so it says KE for kitchen elevation. All right, you'll notice that it's picking up ceiling height just on the fly. You'll notice that if we build out say a garage, that it has some special circumstances that it's looking for a garage to show an adjusted plate height, and it's going to build a slab foundation underneath, etc. So it's doing these things kind of automatically. If we build out a deck, it's going to realize that, hey, on a deck we don't need to see some of these things like plate height, etc. All we need to see is that it's deck. Okay. If we build out, say, a shower, which my bath tools are integrated in the base shower tools, so the glass shower wall actually has a curb, and then the glass pony wall actually has a pony wall that works with the bath tools to build out a shower very, very quickly, where we're building out a shower with hardware, which is a very cool look when it comes to rendering. So I'm just going to build out the shower really fast without even spending that much time on it. You're going to see here that this looks pretty accurate once we just click a few buttons. So you can click some buttons to try to understand what they're doing. You can reach out. You can take a look at the videos that are linked in the sidebar. You're going to see just with the backsplash tool dropped in here a couple times. If I can get the backsplash tool to work right now. It doesn't want to work for me. Now the backsplash tool, by the way, is layered, so it actually is taking advantage of the fact that we have translucent materials now, so that if you have a translucent material that you'd like to use but show grout with that material, there's a grout material integrated into my default backsplash. And I'll show you what I mean. We'll try to find a translucent material to show you this. Not sure why the backsplash tool didn't just click in place here, but oh, and it seems like I sprayed the whole room a shower. Oh, I was in plan mode, that's why. Oops, everything's a shower now. Yeah, but there we go. It built out shower with panels and hardware. I give you a way to change this hardware to corner hardware. You know, this is essentially a door. You can mess around with this, but videos for setup. There's a bunch of different videos just linked in the sidebar to get back on track with what this user asked, which is Pro Plan videos. We click on this, and that's going to bring you to this page that just popped up on my other screen, which is that we've got a few Pro Plan videos for X16 that's explaining how do we do area analysis, how do we do new versus existing, our first time opening the layout, how the ceiling height system works and how it can be modified, how to update the Pro Plan once you've made your own modifications to it when I have issued some kind of new update. The room name system is something that we might not even get into in this video, so you can go watch that here, and then detail drawing and a few tips on interior renderings. So we do have a number of videos, and I'm making more for the use of the Pro Plan. Let me try to get back to our comment section. The Windows labels have to open the detail to initialize. Window labels have to open the detail to initialize. Yes, if you've made some custom settings on the window labels, you do have to, in fact, open the detail for that. I'm trying to come up with a system where you don't have to do that, but that's a pretty quick thing, is that you're just going to open up project label options. Once this is open, any kind of specialized parameters you've used will show up. Something to note is that, and this is getting a little bit advanced again, but I do include a system for utilizing a bunch of different chief architect formatters, so that if you want something to report in feet and inches, say that you're getting a value from a header and you want it to report in a different format, I do give you a way to do that. I've built a whole system to utilize the formatters that are built into Chief. That's very advanced. That's getting advanced. And we've got cabinet label options. You can, the cabinet system is a match system. It looks for parameters and matches based on that. It's not built into the tool itself. I'll show you what I mean. When I come in here and drop a cabinet in and I'm painting it a 2-drawer base, the tool that is painting it a 2-drawer base, that is all it's doing. And by the way, that maintains whatever else you have going on with that cabinet. Let's say you've chosen a color. Let's say you've got pilasters on it. Let's say you've got a crazy countertop on it. You've got some moldings attached to it. This tool does not affect that. All it does is it changes the front face item to a 2-drawer base front face item. That's all this tool does. So how are we getting the label? Well, there's a macro that's looking at all the front face items. It's looking for these parameters, and it's doing a match to come up with 2db24. So when we get into project label options, if you have a particular vendor that uses its own acronyms, it uses its own coding or SKUs, you can change that information here. So instead of saying garbage, I'll just show you this, garbage bin GBG, maybe this guy right here, instead of GBG, it's just DG or something like that. Okay. And so when I press OK and I come back to the plan, if this is working the way it should be, there we go, DG18. So we've changed that acronym, but it's still utilizing that match system. It's still working the way it's supposed to be working. So that's what's happening in project label options, is I'm giving you ways to change parameters I think you might want to change. If there's some more parameters you'd like to change, you can let me know. But for instance, cabinet label and full height cabinet label respectively, what it's picking up here is these are the standard depths of the cabinets that I'm expecting you to place. So that if you change a depth of a cabinet, it's breaking that match system. It's seeing that this is a substandard cabinet. So we're going to add the depth onto the suffix of this particular cabinet code. So we can change that by changing some rules here. And these are just text box. And this gets into the annotation tool. And this is something that's being built out over time. Annotation tool is a single click action. We drop it into a plan and notice that it's noting flooring to be determined for this. If I drop it outside of a room, it's going to say area of work. Why is that? Well, a lot of times I drop in a little CAD box like that and I say, hey, this is my area of work right here. Okay, so that's why it's set up that way. This, if it's pointed to something, say a cabinet, for instance, it's going to assume that you're trying to show that this is an end cabinet and it's finished on that side. If we were to change this room to a living room instead of a kitchen, and actually I think I need to leave it with its default label so it's not shower, it's going to pick up that it thinks that this is a built-in cabinet because we're in a living room. We can point this to a wall, and if this is the new plan, it's going to think it's a new wall for details. If it's existing, it's going to say, hey, this is a demo wall, new window per schedule. We drop this into the foundation plan, and inside the room that's being built from the foundation plan, it's going to pick up the exact crawl space head clearance, and you can even change the text here in this project label options. And then same thing, it's going to pick up, this is on level 0. And you point this to a wall and it's going to say new concrete stem wall per footing details. If we come up a level and let's just drop in click stairs real quick. and use that annotation tool. And we're going to point it to that quick stairs. And we'll just snap it to this stairs. It's going to pick up risers, tread depth, etc. And we get to change the formatting on that as well in staircase options. So do we want to show that information? So this is where you can change what that annotation tool does for a new plan versus an existing plan. So existing, if we drop this into a room that was a hall, it's going to put in placeholder for new hall flooring. This is so that you change that text, right? Crawl space clearance text. There we go. This is so you change that text. So giving you a bunch of options there. Let me go ahead and shut all this down again. Design Build Solutions. I watched some of your videos, thought I recognized that name. Good question. Cool. Yeah, I mean, this community gets pretty tight over time. I know a lot of the people that end up showing up to some of these live videos. Curious about a process with an existing plan. Do I drop cabinets and fixtures in as they're in the field, or are you just getting something close since it would be wiped out? That really depends. If I'm doing an as-built for another contractor, another designer, then I might drop in cabinets as I see them in the field, just because the kitchen tools are so fast. It's easy to build out the kitchens so quickly that I might do that. I did that recently for someone that uses Home Designer Pro, and I built out the kitchen very quickly. Sometimes if I really want a job and I'm trying to wow a customer, I might go look on the last known listing for that project and see their kitchen and rebuild their existing kitchen just to show them that it's fully built in 3D already. That's always a big wow, and I usually nail that job very quickly. Otherwise, you might come in here with just the custom countertop tool and just draw out where those kitchen countertops are, and maybe you drop in a sink, so that might be another way to show an as-built. Yeah, good process question. Someone previously asked about rendering it. I forgot to show the exterior rendering side of things. I give you a number of different backdrops that really drastically change the look of things. I have settings put in place to kind of make your exteriors look as good as I can make them look out of the box. But if we come in, and if you're going to get into searching through my backdrops, I would encourage you to get into your toolbar for your library and turn off our preview and turn off our filter results, because that's going to help load these backdrops, because they're huge backdrops, right? But I do give you a number of ones that are just click in place, and it will change the temperature of the room, the overall look of the room. Keeping in mind we got to rebuild the 3D once we come into the interior side, but this will really change the overall look of a plan in rendering just by clicking and placing some of these. So not sure how many backdrops I give you, but it's quite a few. It's something like 13 gigs of backdrops here, so you can really get some different looks. Boy, that's a nice looking one. And then utilize the tool that's rotate the spherical backdrop, so we can click and drag that backdrop around. And some of these have light illumination, so you see we just changed which way the sun was coming from in this view. How am I changing the cabinet type on the fly like that? So these are what are called style palettes, and they are linked to a custom place library objects, which I have a video about that somewhere on my channel. But if I double click this tool, you're going to see that this is a library object button. It is linked to the library object. And I put a prefix on this 135 in case you have a hotkey system that targets the library, and then you can punch in 135 and get this by setting up some hotkeys. So instead of clicking on it in the toolbar, maybe it's that you set up a sequence of macros in an outside editor for your devices, so that you're hotkeying to the library, erasing any search that was there, and then keying in 135, all in milliseconds in between those actions to get to this tool very quickly. I have some users that do that. So I've hand drawn these icons, so that's why they look similar to Chief's icons, is because I've drawn them to look like Chief Chief's icons. There's the button name. It's associated with the library object. And in this case, it's a custom style palette tool. So if I go to my library and type in 135, hit enter, it's going to pick this up in my filtered results. There it is. And so when we open this object, we're going to see that this tool is not just one tool. It's not just for base cabinets. It's also for wall cabinets. It's also for full height cabinets. So if I were to pick up, maybe I'm going to hover over this toolbar icon 139. Let's type in 139, find that. Let's just show you what this tool is doing. 3-drawer painter. This works for the full height cabinet. It gives us a 3-drawer full height cabinet where that third drawer lines up with your third drawer in your base cabinet. Right. So the kitchen tools by themselves, if you ask me, are as valuable as the Pro plan by itself. And they are coupled together. They're included. So in the kitchen tools, man, without getting into the weeds with this, it's a huge library of tools. So I will get into my shop. Pro plan tools. Inside of there is the full kitchen suite. And we've got some accessories, we've got some advanced items, we've got angled cabinet tools, we've got a bunch of appliances. All these appliances are built so that they're using the default material within the plan file. We've got some assemblies like bench assemblies, so banquettes. We've got some hardware, we've got some cabinet feet, cabinet surfaces. I've got countertop items that are built to look really realistic, simple click and place items that are set to place on top of a countertop. I've got some specialty doors in here, some that are like built to have, you know, full valance in your front face assembly, or scalloping, or an integrated paper towel roll system. I've got a number of faucets here. I've got a number of different edge moldings. I've got some single click panels that you can use. A pantry unit. I've got some pre-built islands. So if we get into the interior space here and just drop in an architectural block, there's a pre-built island. You know, I've got a number of those, and I'll keep adding to the system over time. And then the kitchen quick tools. These are all the tools that are associated with your toolbars. Some of the tools in here are specialty, maybe one-use things. So maybe we're dropping in a full height cabinet here and we're spraying it with this tool, and that's going to build it into the starter package of an arched cabinet, which requires a few other things. But here's the actual arched cabinet there, which is an operable arched cabinet that you can change some parameters on. So got some specialty stuff there. Just to show you a couple of the highly customized kitchen tools is we're going to drop in a full height cabinet here. We'll drop in a base cabinet and then drop in a wall cabinet. And we'll just use the wine tool, for instance. And now some of these tools have been reworked to add emitters to them. So the wine cabinet actually has emitters in them now. So when you open this up, you can turn this, you know, in the edit toolbar on and off. Right, and if we change that rendering mode and kick up the AMD Fidelity FX to improve the quality of this rendering, native resolution, kick up sharpening, and maybe we need to get into rendering technique options and kick up the samples or bounces. But yeah, these are meant to look really realistic with just single click. So same kind of thing as I'm going to drop in a full height cabinet. And we'll drop in wall, we'll drop in base. And so style palettes are able to save certain parameters that you set up. Okay, so for my microwave tool, this is going to add, oops, I'm still in plan painter mode. It's going to add that built-in overhead microwave, built-in, you know, microwave full height oven. See, I have a problem with my default material. That's something happening on my end, so I'll have to fix that. Same thing happens with the oven cabinet. We can spray in plan painter mode and it's going to add. Oh, we're getting a little bit crazy because we're in plan painter mode. So I do provide a tool that reverts everything back to its default form. within reason. Sometimes it won't do materials like this. You gotta shut this plan down and pop in a new one. I'll kind of push through here a little bit. We got a Le Mans cabinets. We've got shelves. These are replacement millwork symbols to make it so that if you've got a glass cabinet, these are supposed to replace your interior shelves. So it adds decor to your shelves very easily. Sinks with faucets integrated, and then a bunch of other sinks that I've saved over time. Some specialty stuff. Some stools that I've imported or built, or some of them are coming from Chief's catalog, but I've improved the materials on them. And then those style painters where we're changing the whole look of the kitchen just with a single click action. Kitchen tools are super fast. I can't tell you this enough. The kitchen tools are super, super fast. I would never go back to using something where I didn't get to use them to build out a kitchen. I just wouldn't. They're just so convenient. And there's a lot of them. Just kind of look at them real quick. Various different sinks, a couple different dishwashers. One's just your regular dishwasher that's built on the cafe line. All the appliances are built on the cafe line, so even the cooktop is. And then this is a panel front dishwasher. I've got an oven range with back control panel. This is our cooktop sprayer number 1. Where it's got a control panel on the front face. Cooktop sprayer number 2, where it's got our cooktops on the top face only, controls on the top. I've got 2 different range hoods here. One's just an appliance hood, one's a framed with molding hood. Here is a range with hood together, just for a quick look if you need to. Our oven painter paints all 3 cabinet types. Microwave painter paints all 3 cabinet types. Got 4 different refrigerator types. So one is an integrated fridge. The next is split panel. So if you're using modular cabinets and you've got a side panel and you're stacking an upper wall unit on top of that and needing to cover the sides, etc. So you got that's where you're going to, change maybe the overlay of your doors, or you're just going to show your styles. That's what this assembly is. This guy is a sprayer to make it look like an integrated refrigerator panel front fridge with an integrated vent system that you could change if you'd like, and then just one more fridge type. This tool is just supposed to kind of help you reflect about diagonal spaces in 3D. It's just a big hexagon that's a solid, and it's got a few markers on it to help you out. Single click action to omit something from a schedule. Single click action to omit a label on an item. This just clicks to a pendant light. You can always double click this and point this to your preferred pendant light if you'd like. This adds a molding to various things. So maybe we've got remove molding on a door, then we can add it back. So here's that remove molding right next to it. This next row is revert back to default cabinet, make something a garbage or spice, pull out 2 drawer base, 3 drawer base, 4 drawer base, full height double door, full height single door. This is a cabinet, corner cabinet with a double door. This is a diagonal cabinet. This adds a Susan to any cabinet. This is a blind corner painter, so it leaves part of this open with a filler in between, and then your operable cabinet door. So this is supposed to go in a blind corner. Le Mans left and right cabinets. This sprayer you spray this in marquee mode, it will change the color of the cabinets. So this is a very fast way to change, say, your island to a different color. You use that as a first step and then go into a 3D view and paint your island whatever color you need. And that way it's not affecting your perimeter cabinets. This is a CAD block meant for our elevation views to kind of block off when we've got a section cut that's going through the middle of a base cabinet and a wall cabinet. This adds a backsplash to a cabinet. Then we've got our backsplash tool. That's our default backsplash tool. This will remove a backsplash from a cabinet. Our default custom countertop hole. This tool adds eased edge moldings to your cabinets. You can spray this on the whole plan, and that will add eased edge to all your base cabinets. And then just from your library, type in EM01, EM04, that's edge molding, and you can hover over, click and replace all of your edge moldings. So it's kind of a two-step process there to add whatever edge molding you want to all of your cabinets. This is a single click for flush filler, single click for flushing out your toe kick. A flush filler that extends all the way to the floor. This tool flushes out your toe kick. This tool pulls in the side of your toe kick. This tool extends your toe kick so it's a closed toe. This tool adds a toe kick back or deletes a toe kick. This is our 12-inch back overhang, 12-inch front overhang. This is a 12-inch island overhang, so 12-inch cabinet with a 12-inch overhang. This is a 12-inch overhang with a millwork symbol that is for feet, so that this quickly builds out. If you want kind of a table set up for your island. This will revert any overhangs back to the default setting. All right, so in case you sprayed one of these by accident. And then this is an end panel generator. And what I mean by that, this is a good one to show real quick. I'm just going to show a cabinet here, and we're going to duplicate this, bring it forward, end panel generator, and we'll just spray this. Oops, need to get out of plan painter mode, object painter mode. Spray this. Now that's an end panel. It got rid of the box. It got rid of everything else. All we get to do now is just kind of point this to the end here. And maybe we're extending this out, and maybe we're doing that because this has a front face overhang that we want to spray on this guy. And this end panel is going to cover that front face and line up. Right. So very quickly, we've got a paneled end now that's covering that front face of this cabinet. So that's a very simple approach. So something I might do is, here's flushing that toe out and changing this to a full height double door underneath the overhang. So a couple of actions and we're almost built, our island end section. Let's get back into just finish up with the rest of these tools. Glass cabinet painter, garage painter, your default soffit tool. This tool will add light rails to the interior of glass doors, but it's a single action and it will overwrite anything else you might have done using like the glass painter tool. So glass painter tool does not work with this particular tool, but this particular tool, if we go into marquee mode and just spray these cabinets, next time we come into a 3D view and pull a rendering view, it did in fact add a custom molding that's creating light underneath those cabinets. So instead of using the rope light tool, very quick for me to click and spray that tool. And then we've got some wall filler, base filler, full height filler, partition wall, and a custom one with a return frame. And then here's our pantry unit. And I even give you a quick bookshelf tool so that if we were to spray this, should change that to a set of bookshelves. Let me check and see if I can catch up with comments here. Another +1 for the kitchen tools. Thank you. Yeah, huge time savers. I would hope so. Thank you. Yeah, let's go make some money. Nice. Thank you, Merlin. This always hits me. My favorite person in the world was my grandpa. His name is Merlin Rabbit. So anytime Merlin reaches out to me, I don't know, I've got a soft spot. Nice. Thank you for joining, Flare Guard. Thanks for sticking around. This has been a long stream so far. If you need assistance installing the Pro Plan, we do have a bunch of support documentation. Also, the community is there to help you. If you need one-on-one assistance, I do ask that you purchase a training block. It takes about 15 minutes for me to install this on your system. And then you got 45 minutes to go over what else you might need. But alternatively, it should have a pretty comprehensive instruction set there. Not only does that come in the purchase link now, extended instructions on installing the Pro Plan, But if we were to go look into Discord, which you should join if you've purchased anything from me, is there's an install info post here that goes step by step with screenshots explaining, hey, you're going to get something. It's going to say your purchase link. You're going to go ahead and click on visit the site. You're going to click on download. You don't need Dropbox to download this. Continue with download only. It's 14 gigabytes. It's huge. You will need to extract the file. Once it's extracted, it's an instructions folder. You'll have to get into it. So there's a little bit of install instructions. It's 4 steps, but it can get confusing. So that's why I've done this step by step. So we'll get into preferences in Chief Architect to show your toolbars folder. You'll close Chief. You'll replace the toolbars folder with my icons. You'll install a custom font that I built, and this gives you full height superscript in your window labels. Now you'll check to make sure your install went correctly by clicking on this. Hopefully your mouse turned to a sprayer icon. And then the last step is just targeting the new Pro plan once you've dragged those files into the correct location. So if you have any questions about this, reach out on the Discord server, reach out in the forums. There's a forum link in the Pro plan. Open the Pro plan up. You'll get to that link very easily. And then once you've installed it, click things, try things out. It's pretty cool. We're going to get into some of the Pro plan's main tools here in just a minute. Will they still be available when X17 comes out? Yeah, there are bugs when the next version comes out. X16, the X15 version had bugs when X16 comes out. The great news is that I am on the early beta team for Chief Architect, so I will be getting whatever first version they output. And as soon as they put out their first version, I start checking to make sure my systems work. X16 broke a lot of my systems. I had to fix a ton of stuff. I did issue a statement for people that have my complete system, which is all my 4,500 items in my library, toolbars, plan templates, etc., all my kits. I put out an issued statement saying that I will need to repair this. Please allow some time. Some of these things are going to take longer than others. And we did repair them, and we pushed them out, and that was great. There was a small update fee for people that had the complete system. It was a little more expensive to update to the X16 Pro plan template this year round because it was almost entirely rebuilt and added a ton of cool features, especially the annotation tool and automatic area analysis was a big one for me. And then we added in the kitchen tools with that package. We added in the bath tools with that package. So, and then pumped up the number of items that are included. I can't tell you what update costs are going to be because I don't know until I start to see the beta and see what I can do with the next version and see what I can improve. So, and then I give discounts based on how long you've owned this system. I always want you to get at least a year out of use of this thing, easily. I still have people that are on the X15 versions. They're still using the X15 versions, and those versions still work. I have the last known version of that, and it's still operable, still works. I don't want to go back to it, though, because the X16 versions were a lot better. So hopefully that answered your question. Are there any tools for outdoor lighting and being able to see them in nighttime lighting? The only thing I give you in terms of nighttime lighting is I do give you some nighttime backdrops. Being able to see them, that's just a setting. You should learn how to use default light sets. Adam, I know you're a little bit newer to the software. So if I drop in an outdoor light here and then I turn off the sun and I go into my backdrops, I do have night backdrops, and I say you need to set the intensity of your backdrop to something less than 100 in value. And so I can choose Preller Drive, click this in, go into my rendering technique options once that applies. And it takes a while because this is a 16K resolution file, but we notice that some light just illuminated here. I'm gonna go into rendering technique options and nighttime backdrop intensity. Maybe I'll set it to something like 80. And now it's very clear that we can see a light and we can see that backdrop. And so this would be a nighttime rendering. So if you're not seeing a light, that's because you either haven't rebuilt the scene in this particular view, which means that, and you can rebuild the scene just by dropping a cabinet in right now or dropping a new light or something like that, or you haven't established light sets. This is set to have maximum lights 20. It's based on where the camera is positioned, so that if the last time you rebuilt your scene was inside of your room and you have 20 lights in there, it's not going to turn on your exterior light. So you might want to switch to a light set where you're adjusting that light set, creating a new set, and saying that it's your night exterior, okay, and only turning on those exterior lights, and then saving this rendering view so that you're ensuring that your exterior light is turned on. For the latest revision, do you recommend we do a new install instead of a manual update? You can do a new install, but I did change a whole lot in the latest update. I'm going to show you how you even get to the latest update in case you do have the Pro plan. Latest update, you're always going to go back to your purchase link. I've started to build out access to this on my forums. So if you don't have access to Pro plan links on the forum, reach out to me. It's now automated for me. I've purchased Zapier, if you're familiar with that service. So now when someone makes a new purchase, it automatically gives them access to their links in the forum. Alternatively, you have links to updates in Discord once I've set you up with access for that. If you open up the newest version of the Pro plan, because I update this quite frequently, in the sidebar now is the version name and a link to the changelog. So if we double click this change takes us to the changelog, where you can review the million changes I've made over the years, which I'm going to start changing the way that this is reported, so maybe it's a little bit more comprehensive. But here's a listing of the most recent changes, and so you can go through and take a look at this and decide whether or not it's easier to do a manual update, which means that maybe you're importing CAD details into your version of the Pro plan. Maybe you're replacing all the macros in your version of the Pro plan. And so that's just getting into Project Browser, copying CAD details, pasting them into your version, getting into text macro management, exporting from the new version, importing into your version. So there's a way to manually update things when you've made the settings that you need for your drawing types, right? In the case of this last update I just pushed out, I redrew every single CAD detail, every single one of them. And I did them to make them conform a little bit better. I did them to take advantage of a new feature. I'll show you what that feature is real quick. Now we're drawing just a closed polyline. I'm going to add a fill to that polyline. Maybe it's that I do not want to show this black line here. So before I had to use a blank line style, something that's an invisible line style. See, it's there, but it's invisible. So you use a blank line style to create a polyline so that I could fill it and not show that line style. So now when I'm hovering over this, let's see, let's close this real quick so we can even see it. Notice that I filled this, but it doesn't have that border. And then I'd have to, with a line tool, draw over the top of this. This is very cumbersome. This is how my CAD details were drawn before, because I started drawing them, I don't know, back in 2014. Now in X16, I have the ability to choose one polyline's edge and toggle the display of that edge. So I went through and redrew every single CAD detail I had to take advantage of this, to eliminate the number of fills I'm having. That makes it so that it's easier to predict the fills that I'm using, and then I can form some of the old fills to the indexed fills that utilize the smart switching system. So redrew every CAD detail. So it might be easier to update through making your changes to the newest updated Pro plan. And that is for the date 240925. So that was September 25th is when I issued that. And I'm working on the newest version, but the newest version shouldn't interrupt a lot of the settings that you might make. So I wouldn't worry about that. And I'm going to release that maybe next month. Match front painter that removes the hardware. A match front painter. A match front. So you're assuming a side, back, rear, match front. I don't know that we can do that. Let's try that out, Alex. That's going to be a little sidebar, but I'm game for it. Let's try it out. So what we're talking about here is when we've got a cabinet and in our front side's back panel, in our left, we're going to match front. Right, we're going to match front. Back, we're going to match front. All right, so we're essentially making paneled on all sides. Now, that removes the hardware. That's not possible. You'd have to remove the hardware on the front face, no matter what. So maybe you would use a match front with no hardware, and then you would use a custom face, and then you go back in and add hardware to the front face. I don't know that we can pick up these parameters, so let's give it a shot. I'm just going to press OK and see what happens when we add this to create a new style palette. And here's our set properties. So we have copy face configuration, but I don't think we have left, right, back. Yeah, there is no left, right, back. There is no way to do that. So the only way that you're going to be able to do that is if you wrote a macro script to initiate those changes by, tabbing through everything, and that would be very challenging to do and cumbersome. So the alternative is that you would just save this cabinet, and what you would do is, yeah, but you want to match front to whatever you're doing in the front face here. Yeah, it'd be particularly challenging. I mean, something that's kind of cool is I think if we spray this with a 2-drawer base and we come in here and open it up, no, see, it reverts it back. Yeah, I don't think it's possible. Throw that in suggestions to Chief. Although that would be a pretty strong one-off feature for me. Alternatively, you could use that end panel generator, and the end panel generator, turning this into an end panel and then spraying this 2-drawer base. I think that does in fact change this to a 2-drawer end panel, right? So, and then just butt this up against the sides of your cabinet. You are indicating in schedule that this is some kind of end panel configuration on all sides of that cabinet. And it's dynamic in a way. So maybe that's a solution for you. So we got a cabinet here. We got an end panel. We want that end panel to be splitting into 3s or full height double door, but you want to remove the hardware. You can remove the hardware after the fact, but being able to pop that in there, pop that in. Now we've got that same setup on all sides of this, or the 2 back sides of this cabinet. Let's turn the sun back on. Let's kick a light in here. So there we go, right? And that's, kind of a dynamic setup. So you would just be creating style palettes to turn these panels into anything you want, and of course remove the hardware. Maybe helpful. You're going to extend this 7/8 of an inch so that it's covering the back end panel, right? Yeah. Yeah, you got it. Oh man. All right, sip of coffee, and then I'm going to go over the Pro Plan main toolbar. Somehow we still have 30 users in here. Sure to ask questions if you've got any questions. I have a new video out about making brace wall plans. That's one of the specialty schedules that's in the project browser. If that's something that you need to do, I'm going to do a little shameless plug. Say go check out that video. It shows let's see if I can even find that on the fly. Oh, there, yeah, I got it right here. All we're doing is placing a cabinet, and the cabinet reports all of our brace wall connections to a schedule. And then on top of that, if we kind of point to point this into just inside the drywall to our main layer, what happens is when we click on this is a place marker elevation callout. It actually links to the elevation callout that's way outside of the bounds of the terrain. So it's just for display purposes, really. But if we get into the active layer display section and turn on our CAD for this view, or let's see, BWP, what else is BWP? Oh, and I need cabinet door. I need to turn cabinet door on for this. Yeah, it's a visual display. So not only is this reporting to a schedule, if we open the schedule up, take a look, this is what it's building. It's building a brace wall plan schedule. Not only is it doing that, but it's showing up on our elevation like so. And then it's also showing up in our plan view to show us as it's an 81-inch brace wall plan. It's keyed number 1. So if we go back to that schedule and take a look, it's number 1. 48-inch minimum panel length. This is a wood shear wall with a 7/8" anchor bolt. Yeah, pretty cool system. All right, my main toolbar here, main one, this guy right here. First of all, I'm bringing in the new search tool, right? That's a really cool one. So you could just type in framing and maybe you're trying to look for a post, right? That's very handy. Got our annotation tool, which we did show. Annotation tool is going to, point this to anything you want, and it's going to pick up some information. I ask my users all the time, what do you want this to do? This tool has very little limits. I can expand this tool to a million different conditional formatted things. Any annotations you want to build, I can expand this tool to build out those annotations. I'm kind of curious what happens when I point this to a soffit. If it doesn't have something indexed or programmed, it's going to pick up that if something is a type, that it's going to pick that up. Hey, look at this. This is just proving that a soffit is in fact just a cabinet. Isn't that tricky? It's true. But let's just say that we have something else and something else that's not necessarily programmed. What would even be something else that's not programmed? I can't even think of one on the fly. Some kind of fixture or something. If it reports as some sort of type, meaning that Chief Architect sees it as an object type or just type, if it reports as any kind of type, the annotation tool will pick that up. Then we've got our callouts, 2 callouts. These are both linked to callouts in layout. So all you have to do is open up layout, associate your plan with this. These will populate and you relink them to any CAD detail. And so we showed that a little bit earlier in the show. This is our construction line tool, this next guy. So I use these after all the dimensions are done. The auto dimensions are done. I come in here and drop this in. And this is utilizing X16's automatic numbering. Notice I drew this one second, but look, it's number 1, number 2. I'm going to draw in one more. It's going to, there we go. It's going to be number 2. And now this is number 3. If you need this to be a slip number, maybe you're on a revision, then you have to come in here and uncheck automatic in this case. And then then it's going to be a slip number. So you have to key this in yourself. So 1.1. And in fact, this does kind of screw up that system where it's not going to pick up that this is supposed to be number 2. That rule set is still in place. So don't include an automatic ordering, and now that automatic ordering works, and now you do in fact have a slip number. Well, what is this? This is a marker. It's meant to be used in some kind of elevation view. So if we pull a camera elevation, by the way, my wall elevation cameras in particular for kitchens are set up so that if you hit the auto interior dimension, this is going to seem foreign to you, but this is actually following NKBA standards. I know it seems like that's an impossibility in chief, but if you really get interior dimension defaults, you can in fact build out accurate NKBA standards. Sometimes it does not pick up the window. Depends on the size of the window. Sometimes it does. So we can use the delete tool and auto again. Yeah, sometimes it's not going to pick up that window casing, so you have to manually draw that. But for the most part, this should be picking up accurate NKBA standards, so that if we were to drop in maybe another cabinet, and I don't know if I can use the sync tool from here. Maybe I can. Yeah, there we go. Let's delete those. Do auto again. It does in fact pick up our center line on that second line. So that's NKBA. Cool. Robin Fisher would be proud if she's in here or watching this later. So this next tool is just meant to be a finished floor height marker. You can just drop this in anywhere, so that if you're trying to build out just a standard document saying, you know, your fixture heights, you can in fact drop those in at the correct heights. Maybe you've got some kind of funny offset like this sconce where the center of this item is not in the center of the canopy. So you could use that tool to drop in where the center of that canopy is supposed to be. You know, that's just supposed to help you with your documentation. On top of that, I do in fact give you a few standard blocks for this in the project browser. So we'll get into CAD details, get back into standards, and you're going to see electrical fixtures unless otherwise noted, bath fixtures unless otherwise noted. We'll get into this CAD detail, and you can see that this is a dynamic detail, so that if we use the contain selection mode to grab that shower valve and the marker associated with it, when you drag it down, say 6 inches, it's going to update on the fly. It's going to fix that. So really easy for you to show your standardized elevations for this view. Next, we'll get into just the object info macro and the search macro. We did show this earlier in the show, but that's just, if you're getting into macros, you're learning macros, and you're utilizing this, the tool that's in the forum for writing macros. Let's do that real quick. Here's what I want to do. Maybe I want to see some kind of reported value for a cabinet. So here I've got a cabinet here, and I want to do, maybe I want to do square foot area of a cabinet. So I'm going to use the search tool, and it's going to look for measurements when I point it to this cabinet. But instead of measurements, I just want it to show width, and maybe I want to show depth. And I want to get the reported values for width and depth, and we'll see what's available here. We do see that there's a value for width. We do see that there's a value for depth. Okay, so this cabinet is considered a publisher. It's publishing these values. We can utilize these values. How do we do that? Let's get into the sidebar, click on forums. We're going to navigate to that forum. I'll get it on the main screen here. And we're going to come up to this sidebar here. What's he saying? Ruby script only has text reporting or replacing functionality. Ruby is not capable of programmatic changes in Chief Architect. I wanted to state that as a forward because I was getting a lot of people trying to make programmatic changes with Ruby. It's not something we can do, meaning that we can't just script something in to say, hey, if a cabinet's 24 inches, automatically change it to 36 inches. That's a programmatic change. So this is just text reporting and replacing. It says, let me know if you need instructions on how to find the object variables, which is what we just did. So if you needed instructions, you just say, yes, give me instructions, and Kevin's going to tell you how to find that information. An example could be write a script to report volume of a solid. So here's what we're going to do. Write, I'm going to get out of all caps. I don't know why I've been in all caps. Write a script to report area of a cabinet using the variables width and depth. Let's see what it comes up with. So it's double checking that you actually know the correct variables. In this case, I do know. Let's just see if it gets that without having to over explain it. There we go. So here it's written a script for me, and I should be able to take this, copy it. And then the next part is it would need to explain how to utilize this script. So maybe I say, where do I put this? And we'll see if it comes up with something. But In the meantime, I'm going to show you how you actually do this. Oh, look at this. It actually tells you exactly how to do this. We're going to go into the menu item, CAD, text macro management. We're going to create a new macro. We're going to name that macro. We're going to copy our script in there. We're going to check evaluate. We're going to set the context of it. In this case, we'll use reference. And then we're going to call that macro in the label. It actually did a perfect explanation of that. I'm actually quite impressed. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm doing, man. All right, text macro management, new macro. And we'll just call it cabby area. Why not? We're going to paste that script into here. We're going to check evaluate, which it's what it said it to do. And then we're going to say, in this case, we're going to use referenced because we're going to reference it with a text box. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this text. I'm going to replace it with that macro I just created. User defined cabby area. Bam. And that's our area. Isn't that cool? So we can add square foot to the end of that. We can add a number of things to that. But so that's what these tools are for here. It's a search tool and it's report everything tool. The object info macro is the short version of this macro. If you have the pro plan and you want to utilize the long version, you're looking for any possible reported values for this cabinet, we have to get into text macro management, get into object properties. That item on the toolbar is using object properties short. Object properties long is going to give you a lot more information that's being reported from that cabinet, including information about the room that it's in, etc. I'm going to get to these next items on the toolbar. Let me check out the chat and see what we got going on here. Ethan Ashby, how's it going, man? Maybe there is a way to make that larger in the forum. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's the challenge. I'll show you a little back end stuff here. I'm going to put this on a different screen. I'll show you the challenge with that, Ethan, because I agree that would be very nice. Unfortunately, it's a really difficult code to do specifically for mobile. You're going to see, here's my website set up. All right. And here's that chatbot popping up. Yes, I would love it if this was taller, bigger, larger, you name it. But this bot is coming from Zapier, and it's an integration through a header code injection and also some custom CSS. And so when we switch to a mobile view, here's the problem with that, is that if I make this bigger or larger, it's a problem in mobile. And coding this across all of those systems becomes extremely challenging, especially because the bot's coming from a third-party source that we have no control over. So here's maybe what I could do is I can give you a redirect to a dedicated page that all it is the scripting bot, but it's a duplication of that bot. And I can do that now because I now, just yesterday, started paying for Zapier Pro. So if you wouldn't mind throwing that in suggestions so I don't forget about that after this live show in Discord, that would be great, because I will make a splash page that is just this page so that you can get a full size. Yeah, I think that would be helpful. Yeah, yep, you got to the same conclusion I did. Exactly. I'm with you. Yep. Nice. Cool. Yeah, I agree. This would be nice if it was a lot larger, easier to see. So maybe we could do that. And if you're interested, I think that I'm already giving this away for free. This is already integrated into my website. I might give away the custom GPT that's similar to this, but this actually works better than the custom GPT coming from ChatGPT. I get better results out of that. And then I do a lot of my scripting across two platforms. So I use the Kevin bot, and then I also use Claude AI. The brilliance of Claude AI is their new kind of like modal window integration, something, etc. So if we were to write a script for cabinet area using publisher variables width and height. Claude, ChatGPT does this now too, but Claude's been doing this for a while, where it isolates the code on the right-hand side and will even update this as you update things. So, and I think that the code I get from Claude is a little bit cleaner, but this is a paid thing and it's been learning from me, and there's no way I can transfer that yet. Claude just enabled custom parameters that I might be able to transfer later on down the line. And this would be, you know, the ultimate scripting that you can get for Chief Architect. Yeah, the Kevin bot works really, really well. For linear systems, for more complex systems, it's just a little bit challenging when you're using multiple macros referencing another macro. But people that want to learn about macros, encourage you to come to our on-site summit that we host in North Carolina in March, because I can teach you one-on-one, one-on-group, in person, how to do some really basic macros to get your feet wet and then get you into the concepts behind macros and why we utilize them. Number one thing about why we utilize them in the Pro Plan, and I've mentioned this several times, is limiting our liability from potential errors from hand typing in information. So that's a big part of it for me. All right, let me get to this next tool. There is a ceiling height macro in this system. Let me just go ahead and shut this down. We'll do a whole new plan. And from that plan, I'm actually going to go ahead and get rid of my walls. And let's go ahead. And then we actually need to review my saved plan views, because there's a bunch of those as well. But get rid of the walls, and then we'll use our space planner tools real quick. And maybe we're just going to punch in a bunch of things here. So we got a bed, we got a bath. Maybe we got a dining room off of the bed and bath. Maybe we got a deck off the dining room. Maybe we got a garage off the deck. Let's do something stupid. And then and a family room off your bedroom, and then there's no kitchen. So let's build this house. There we go. And we notice a couple things. We've got some ceiling height macros. I want you to pick up on something here. We're going to make a vaulted bedroom. And so it's picking that up and changing the label to a vaulted ceiling instead. I also want to say that in this bathroom, maybe I don't want to see, or maybe in this bathroom, this is a new plan and we're doing an addition and we're doing a remodel in the bedroom, but we're not touching the bathroom. That's what this next tool is for, no work tool. So it designates that we've got no work on that bathroom. That no work tool also works on the window. So we're saying this is an existing window, we're not touching it, and this is an existing bath, there's no work there. So again, single click actions to speed up our annotations to make really clear, abundantly clear setups here. And then I think some of the new tools work for filling stuff out like that with my new fills sidebar that's going to come out in the next update. So now we're really making it clear, hey, there's no work here. And in fact, we use our annotation tool that say, hey, this is the area of work. And we'll use a particular line style to just draw this out. That's the area of work right there. Square this up. So super quick way of just annotating this in a way, right? Annotation tool again, saying that there's some kind of new bedroom flooring. So that's what this icon right here is, the no work style palette. And then this guy is a rich text representation. It works exactly like the room, those room labels. So if we were to click a room label, you select marquee similar, select all similar, open this up and say that we don't want to show the room label. Maybe instead we're going to use that rich text room label, which looks a little bit nicer, I think. So it's a real nice way of showing that. And notice that all those same parameters still work, right? And we can change up the size of the font, etc., because it's rich text. We can format it a little bit differently. We've got a tool here, and this is to abbreviate a label. This works on our windows as well as our rooms. So let me spray this in the dining, and you're going to see it's going to stack that ceiling height. This is particularly useful for when we're building out something that is a very small room. I'll show you just by default, if we name this closet, it's going to be a full-size label. But if we name this CLST, which is an abbreviation for closet, then it's going to be that stacked label. So a few of those things are just kind of built in already. That's built into our project label options. You can set more parameters for this. Notice that rooms with truncated labels, closet, powder, bath, landing, those are all rooms that will automatically stack. So you can add to this. Rooms with that adjusted plate height label by default are going to be garage and porch, assuming your porch is going to be an inch down, or maybe it's a full step down. So we want to show that adjusted plate height. Rooms that don't show any kind of plate height information or ceiling height information, deck, shower, we don't need to see that information for those room types. We can add that. No display, meaning we're not showing ceiling height for layer sets that include electrical or window. Why? Well, on an electrical plan, I don't want to show my ceiling height in this case. I don't need to see it. So it's removing that information here. The window order overview, I don't need to see it. So it's removing that information automatically. There we go. So if we want to show adjusted plate height information, let's say, for instance, this family room is a sunken floor. So I'm going to say that this is -6-inch floor height. It's going to show the adjusted ceiling height, but it's not showing an adjusted plate height. That's where we get to utilize this tool, show plate height. We get to spray this room, and so it's going to show that adjusted plate height. So again, makes it so much easier than having to go and try to figure that information out. Just spray it, click it, single click, bam, done. This right here is Area Analysis Package Initializer. This is specifically for when we're bringing an old plan into the new Pro Plan templates. So it's something I'm going to kind of ignore in this video. That's going to be a separate video. It's kind of the same thing here. This is a plan transfer tool. This is made to change labels and parameters and fields for our windows, cabinets, doors, rooms, so that when you're bringing a plan that was not built in the Pro Plan into the Pro Plan, because you want to utilize these new tools on an ongoing project, that's going to be in a separate video. I'm not going to go over that here. And then I showed this earlier, but remove area analysis from a room, that removes it from a consideration of some kind of an area analysis. For instance, maybe I'm going to draw an exterior wall set up here, and then in my library browser, in my full system, I have the RD pool tool, and this is a single click action to turn this into a pool. Well, I do not want to include this in my area analysis for whatever reason. So that's why I would use that tool. And then if we pull a 3D view, we'd have to only change the parameter for this pool to turn off auto roofs, because we've got to make it so that those roofs don't show, and then change the parameter of this pool to something that's underground, right? So stick that in the ground. There you go. You got a pool, and it's easily shapeable because it's just a bunch of walls. If you can click on a wall, that'd be impressive. Nope, not gonna let me. Ha. All right, we're at the 2-hour mark. Cool. We haven't even gone over plan views. We're not going to get into everything that's in the Pro Plan. We're just not. I tried to rebuild it for metric plans, and I was 12 hours in and still not even close to building it. And I've built this plan so many times, and I'm so intimately familiar with it. I can't tell you how many settings there are to make this plan template. It's a lot. There's a lot of consideration that went into this. So let's take a look at some of the saved plan views. Got a red line view. This is for, this defaults our note tool to a red line text tool, so we can type in anything we want here. and that's going to build out a redline schedule. And so this is kind of communicating maybe with clients or communicating with another drafting technician. That would be a way to do that. The redline camera is a specific camera that also is defaulting notes to that redline tool. And this is for if you want to make sure that you're typing things in 3D for another technician to take a look at, and it will bind to whatever height this is placed at. So this will actually snap if you want to a particular thing, right? So it's going to snap to the top edge of that. So that's building out a red line list for someone to look at. And you can see here it is. They're showing up here in 2D as well as in 3D. So that's that red line saved plan view. Working furniture layout. I mean, this is going to be where we're just doing kind of an interior design workflow, and this is just a different displayed view. When we use our manual dimension tools, this is going to pick up those furniture dimensions. It's also going to pick up things like casings, etc. So if we've got the window and we want to use that manual dimension tool and we get close enough to it, if we get far enough from it as the interior side, we get right on top of that window and it's going to pick up casings. So that it'll help you dimension to things such as how far away this furniture is from the casing. Let me go ahead and do a new plan view to clean this up. Our working kitchen and bath view, this switches everything. I send my kitchen and bath at a 1/2 inch scale. I send every other view at a 1/4 inch scale. So a working kitchen bath also has cabinet labels turned on, and it's doing a few other things as well. So, and it's changing to our NKBA dimension defaults out of the box. So if you want to delete all your dimensions here and then do auto dimensions, now it's using the NKBA dimensions as opposed to what we were using before. So, and then I have a kitchen template that by default uses a particular set of dimensions that help you if all you're doing is kitchen remodels. That would be something you might use, but that kitchen template is included with the Pro Plan template so that you're still getting the kitchen tools as well. It's kind of a bargain deal for that. So here's the interior versus exterior auto. Let me get into working roofs only. I'm not displaying your ridge moldings. I'm not displaying your shadow boards. I'm not displaying your gutters. I don't think I need the display of those to build out my roof system. I'm not even showing your labels. This is just a simple walls and roofs only view. This helps me out a ton when I'm building out roofs. I just find that this is all that I really need to show in this particular view. Working terrain, we showed this a little bit easier or earlier, but this is, where I'm going to do my my steps, my elevation markers, my elevation regions, etc., my terrain retaining walls. Here, we'll just build a retaining wall real quick, 36 inch. And we'll make sure that our step is transitioning in 6 inches. And maybe we'll make one more elevation that's kind of at a wonk here. And this is going to be 48 inches. Let's go take a look at what this even looks like. Right? So there's our terrain retention there. Stepped up, bam. And then since this is built, it's going to show, other contour lines. If we switch to our plot plan view, this will show some contours in a very faint gray on this view, which I find to be pretty helpful. So terrain view kind of works with that plot plan view. The room name saved plan view. There's a whole video on this, so I'm not going to go into details on this, but if you didn't know this, and this is giving away a big kind of a secret in a way to the greater audience, is this is a place marker to execute a macro, right? Essentially, that's what this is. Now, it's not going to execute being inside of a saved plan view name, but when it is sent to layout it becomes something that can execute in layout if layout has a macro of the same name as room name. This makes it so that we can build out elevations for many different rooms, and we never have to change the name of the elevation camera. We only have to change the name of the comments section of the layout page we're sending it to, and it will automatically change every view's name on that page. What does that mean? Well, when I'm building new construction and I've got elevations for 12 rooms, 4 cameras per room, all I have to do is come into the working plan, grab this cluster, copy paste it into my new room, okay, and do it again and do it again and send these views to layout. It doesn't matter what these are showing up as because these don't print. All right, this guy needs to be linked to this guy. That's it. That's the only thing that needs to happen. Everything else is displaying as you would like it to display on the floor plan itself. So you can break those individual elevations, you can manipulate them around walls, etc. But in terms of what's being displayed in plan view and in your layout is, if I designate this as a bathroom, for instance, oops, let's go back to this bath. That Rose is going to pick up that this is bath elevations. It's going to link to that view, and if that view is sent to, those 4 views are sent to a page, all we have to do is change the comment on that page to bath, and it will name those views bath plan north, or bath front, bath back, bath left, bath right, etc. So that's what the room name macro is doing. I'm not describing it all that well. I go into detail about this in a separate view that's in those links in the sidebar. So I would tell you to go take a look at that. If you've got questions about that, let me know. So the electrical plan here, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I take out the fill on the walls. We've got utilize your electrical toolbars. Some of these tools are, actually, I give you all the MEP tools that I have as well, which is a large library in and of itself. I use Z-Wave switches, and so I always show those as the primary option. So I like to use these switches, but you can always link these icons to something else by double clicking on them and pointing to a library. But this is how things show up in the electrical view, in case you're curious. Pretty standard. You can use the electrical connections tool, which is just getting better and better from version to version, especially like kind of the spline method for this. Or I oftentimes just use the line tool and bend my arrows and connect how I want to. That's a pretty standard practice of mine. So by default, the CAD line is in fact looks like the electrical connections tool. Just gives you a little bit of dynamics there. I see another comment came in. I'll address that in just a second. Existing floor plan view. This is mainly here as a place marker to show you that there is in fact an existing floor plan layer set, which we could use as a reference. So if I go back to working plan and I turn on a reference file and I go target some other plan file, I'm just going to target this untitled new, for instance, and I change the layer set to my existing floor plan layer set. You're going to see that it's showing us, there's that plan we did earlier. There's the existing layer set. It's drawn on top of right now. You can, of course, change that designation. It could be XOR, where we're doing some color coding, where lines align, or we can throw that underneath in this case. So if I were to get rid of this wall, for instance, we're going to show that, look at that, we've got a wall underneath there. Extend this one through, kind of populate this one down, bring this one over. Maybe I'll just use a hotkey to connect it. Bam. So there we go, very easily showing kind of like an existing underlaid. So that's what the existing floor plan's even there for. The other reason it's there for, it's there is for any other reason you might need to utilize it. You could send it to layout and have it be underneath as another saved plan view and do it that way. That would be something you could do. Another thing we use it for is the plot plan. I do show that existing floor plan as a reference in case you want to turn that off and only show roofs. Another thing that I like to do sometimes from the project browser is I will take in the cameras, in overview cameras, we've got an orthographic cut for graphic floor layouts or an underlay on the plot plan. All right, so underlay on the plot plan, if we open up this view, I'm just going to take this view and screen clip it, bam, just like that, and bring it over to the plot plan, paste it as a picture, all right, and then scale it accordingly. So if I took the line tool and just measured the eave right here, copy that 404, took the picture, used a point-to-point dimension resize, and paste that 404, retain aspect ratio, and then point-to-point this over here. Now we've got kind of a graphic plot plan, right? Where we're showing the shadow, we're showing, it's, I don't know, it looks a little bit more dynamic in a way. This is kind of a cool setup. So if you wanted to turn that reference display on, look, it's even showing that existing overlaid on top of that graphic look. So that's kind of a cool setup there, in case you're interested in that. The other one is if you want to show kind of a graphic floor plan, this would be a way to do it, is open this other view. And we've got some kind of a section cut going on here. So you would mess with the cross section cut and adjust this to what you need it to be. But this will actually show, depending on the rendering style. Right now it's using a standard view. And I'm actually not sure why it's not showing our floor surfaces. So that would be a question. It's using the working layer set. Interesting. But there would be floor surfaces. So that's kind of a graphic overview. I need to fix that. Doug says, thank you for demoing all the tools. I'm in the X15 Pro plan, having trouble moving to the X16 plan because I haven't been able to properly utilize what I have. You need these helps. I understand that. X16 does a lot of things easier than the X15 Pro plan did them. I really took a lot of time to try to make it a bit more intuitive. So I would say make the jump, because X16's easier than X15. So if you've purchased the X16, please go start using it. I have a custom macro. We can show you what the macro system even looks like. It's pretty advanced. It's what are we doing? Well, we got a CAD block. CAD block has a bunch of text parameters. Those are your label options that you get to modify. And then from there, that turns that into a hash. First of all, it's giving a value to everything first, in lieu of finding a value that you've designated. That's what's happening here. And from there, it's detailing and creating a hash. And a hash is a name value pair, a key lookup, if you will, meaning that we've got a key here and we've got a value, VB, and for VB, the value is VB in this case. For single hung, the value is SH. So we're kind of creating an index, a lookup table. From there, we are looking up things based on what we're trying to accomplish. So the ceiling height macro, if we just try to go in and edit this, is that it's looking up the user options from room label options to check out, what options you wanted to set. And this is advanced. This is quite advanced, right? It's looking up room name. It's looking up to see if the room has a ceiling. It's looking up to see if it has a roof. It's looking to see the finished ceiling elevation. It's looking to see if there's a floor elevation. It's looking to see if there's a comment in the room's object information panel. It's looking for any kind of component code there. It's looking for any kind of manufacturer there. Okay. First thing, next up is it's looking for variables from the end user. Are we showing a plate height label? Are we, truncating the room label or abbreviating the room label? Are we including plate height text? Are we including finished floor text? What is the label going to be? What's the vaulted ceiling? Is it included in a room without a playhead height? So we're establishing all these variable conditions, right? And then we are establishing how are we deriving that particular elevation height. Ceiling height in inches equals the room finished ceiling height minus the room finished floor elevation. Then on top of that, we're referencing another macro or two. In this case, we're referencing, hey, is the condition for is existing false or true? If it's true, we're going to set one label. If it's false, we're going to set another label. So condition existing, condition new. Next up is that we are looking at formatters. I have a number of different formatters here. We're going to show 1/16 of an inch. Are we going to round decimal places? Are we going to show foot inch? Are we going to show a number of things? So all of these different labels have the ability to use different formatting options so that we can change that to say, hey, maybe we didn't want to show our room label in foot and inches. Maybe we want to show that in just inches, right? So instead of 8 foot out, maybe we don't want to round up to the nearest inch or down to the nearest foot, right? So there's a number of things that are happening there in that macro system. So it's a pretty advanced system. At the core of it, though, we're utilizing values that are within the software. To answer your question as best as I can. It wasn't the simple answer. All right, kind of punching through this some more. Here's our foundation plan. It's pretty simple. It's still utilizing a particular dimension default that's set for remodel. I do in my toolbars include an active dimension default so that if you are a new construction person, you would just switch this to new construction and resave as your new template so that you're utilizing new construction. So if we go up a level or we switch back to the working plan and we utilize our new construction dimension defaults, now when we draw through this, it's going to pick up our main framing layer as opposed to surface layer for remodel. Okay. Now when we do our automatic dimensions, it's going to pick up that main framing area there. So back to foundation plan, and we can obviously use that manual dimension tool to kind of swipe through here, pick up what these dimensions are. Helpful, if you will, to kind of in snap settings override angle snaps if you want to do a snap to snap, angle to angle here and kind of pick this up. So that'd be a way to do that. Turn that back on. I might include this in the next version, put this up in the sidebar. Now let me switch to framing floor plan. Now when we build framing, I'm going to build all framing in this case, and this is a stem wall condition. I'm going to turn on the display of these things. This is how it's going to show. How it's going to show up. Now, this is in case you do want to show framing, but I want to just tell you that I don't do that in my own practice. All right. What I do instead is I get into the library browser and there's a particular tool that I use, which if I just type in framing and limit my search to the user catalog, and even get into like just floor framing, I've got a Rabs joist CAD block. And when I explode this CAD block, this label here is using the floor framing label that is coming from your macro designation system. So if we go up here, macro designation, and we find our floor framing, right? Floor framing, color-coded pink, 2x6 Doug fir, 26 on the center. Look for the pink. There we go. We got floor framing 1 and 2. 1 and 2 means this is setting a value for a floor framing 1 macro and a floor framing 2 macro. This is coming from schedule number 1, schedule number 2. So that if I want to switch this to 2x8 Doug fir at 24 on centers, open the row object, press OK. When I come back to my save plan view, that's that floor framing plan, and I go down a level, look, this has been updated. This is an engineer's approach to showing this, right? I don't actually need to show all the framing members. Maybe I just need to show one particular line for some kind of a beam or something like that, and then use our call out section tool, or just our call out tool in this case might be better. and link this to a view such as some detail that has some note about a beam overhead or a girder system overhead, bam, right? So now that's going to be linked. Once we establish a layout, that's going to properly show the page that it's linked to. When we double click on it, it's going to take us to that particular detail. Come back and notice that this is showing us everything that we need to show. So the other thing we could do is we can make this a polyline segment by adding an additional segment or break coming in here to the label and grabbing one of the macros built into the system. How would we even do that? Well, we could come back to the macro designation system, come back to this little display over here or something in here, and maybe it's that we're showing some kind of header like this 4x8 beam. So we could take this, maybe it's a macro, maybe it's not, but it's useful to be able to take this information from here and go back and paste it into our saved plan view. And that way we're conforming that information, right? So there's a real easy way to build out a floor framing plan. If you haven't seen it yet, I have a membership area in YouTube, and in that membership area, I show you how to do my preferred methods for doing walkout basements, which is why I include some additional wall tools, like a furred out wall with a pony wall that's got a stepped wall setting here. Let me switch to framing roof plan. Kind of the same take on things. It's showing our walls underneath. It's showing our schedule designations here. We can build out the schedule, include more information if we want to. And then just as if we build out our framing here, it's going to show them in this view. And, you know, obviously going to need a little bit of cleanup usually when we're doing framing in this view. Furniture layout, we kind of went over the working plan furniture layout, but just notice that the differences are that we've got casings here. It changes our default dimension so that we're picking up casings and we're picking up furniture when we draw with that default. HVAC plan, pretty straightforward. I haven't had much feedback on this, so if you have something you'd like to see in the HVAC plan, let me know. Kitchen plan, this is, we're basically scaling down all of our text because I send this at a 1/2" scale. So it's, and it turns on cabinet labels and it changes to the NKBA standard dimension default. Overview is going to be a general overview view. That's just maybe if you want like a real estate listing overview, that would be something that happens there. Plot plan view, pretty self-explanatory. I drop in some CAD blocks here. This is just a line where you can drag that line out to get dimensions from that line. It's not an actual dimension tool. Showing 5% grade here. Lot size comes from the polyline, so that if you were to follow my free video on YouTube that shows how to draw a parcel map, you can draw out using the tab input and coordinates by setting your numbers to quadrant bearing and decimal feet. And that way we could punch out that this is 127 foot and it's north 59, 58, 12 east, and draw out your plot plan in this way until you've conformed it to something that's complete. And then once you're finished with this and it's closed, if you want to integrate it with the parcel information, all you're going to do is make sure that a part of this polyline is pushed past the bounds of your new polyline, and then you'll union the two. Don't retain the original objects. Excuse me, I did that backwards. You're going to union this one to this guy, and then that's going to integrate it. And you only need to make sure that you're snapping this back into in plane, simplifying the polyline. And now the lot size is updated and it's showing correct bearings for your lot. And kick this back in and figure out where your setbacks are, etc. So that's what's happening here. We went over how this Dove Street is working. That's coming from your project information. And then impervious area is just something else that ends up in calcs in case you need it. If you don't, you can delete it or just drop it down to 0. Or you might need to just say that this is not included in the schedule anymore. Okay. And then just to see where that's all showing up, let's switch back to the working plan view, get into our sidebar, project information. And we'll see that this is building out as we go. That's that updated lot size. If you're new construction, all I would expect that you do is take this coverage, which is just a schedule, delete it, take this coverage here, point to point, bam. That's new versus existing, right? So real simple. Design loads are just notes that it's building the schedule here. So you can add more notes to this, add them to your library if you want, and that will update the design loads. Parcel number is going to come from some information from client information. All that information is over here. That'll help you build this whole segment out really, really fast to get your title block built out with this Pro plan. Nice. Using macro designations as labels where needed. Cool. Can we turn off scheduled labels? Are you talking about for the roof plan? I moved a little bit fast there, Ken. I think that's Ken. Yeah, it is Ken. Nice to see you in here, Ken. Are we talking about our roof plan labels? Is that what we're talking about? Let me know. In that case, yes, you can. This is coming from the schedule. We could use that find schedule from object tool and open this up. And we could change the label to use just the callout or just use the label if you'd like, right? So, and then we would just remove callout symbol from column rows. We would remove that. So that would be one way of doing that. So now we're just showing the pitch on this. Yeah, so we're talking about, yeah. So there we go. Now we're just showing pitch. Alternatively, we could just click on roof plan here, active layer display options, and then roof labels, just turn those off if you don't even want to show the pitch. All right, I'm going to shut this down. We'll just open a new one, get something a little more clean in here. There is something I have in the electrical toolbar that's kind of a funny item. Maybe I don't have it in the electrical. Oh, I don't have it. Do I? No, I don't. All right. So something that I include in the library then is smoke detector. For a remodel workflow, many jurisdictions require that we show smoke detectors in all required locations. Well, how do we do that when we just want to show a partial electrical plan view scaled to 1/2-inch scale? What I will do then is I'll utilize a smoke detector I've got in my library. That's its symbol is sized way up. If I can find it. Boy, I might not be able to find it. Maybe I deleted it by accident. Dang it. In that case, throw this on this update. Nope, there it is. So here's the idea here, is you throw this in your plan for your electrical plan, all right? And then all you're doing is you're showing just a small little scaled down version of your plan, all right? So let's just, I'm gonna throw a new layout in here and show you exactly what I'm talking about, what the thought process is here. So we've got an electrical plan here. E1. Let's go ahead and copy forward a plan here. I'm going to copy this forward. This would be my typical move is I've got my plan where I want it. I want it to line up across all sheets. I'm going to relink this view to my electrical plan view at this scale, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Now, maybe it's that I'm not showing the whole plan in this view. Maybe I've actually changed this to a 1/2-inch scale. Okay. So now we're really kind of cutting off the display of this view to just show a particular room or something. Maybe our remodel is only in a bathroom or something like that. But your code checker still wants to see those smoke detectors everywhere else. Let me copy this over. Let me switch this back to like an 1/8-inch scale. And now I can show that whole building at an 1/8-inch scale, right? Show the whole building at an 1/8-inch scale, but how do we show the smoke detectors? That's the whole reason for this. It's a funny little gimmicky thing that I built out to handle a particular condition. So that's just a big old smoke detector to clearly show in a very small 1/8-inch scale view where our smoke detectors are in the case that we're just doing a quick little small bathroom remodel and we're sending at a 1/2 inch scale. Little tricks like this are built in case you didn't know about it. Let's see. We're almost through. Plumbing layout, pretty self-explanatory. I give you hot and cold water line styles. In future, I'll probably put this in the sidebar that I'm building out for new fills and line styles. Um, that's over here. These fills integrate into the detail system, making it very easy to draw out detail stuff. So, and that's what I'm doing with the fill sidebar. But I will add a few things like this. Hot water and cold water line setup. So that's the plumbing layout. And then small detail plan view. Occasionally I use the Pro Plan just to build out really small objects. And so this just changes our dimension defaults so that when we're zooming in and using some kind of like CAD block system, we're going to turn off line weights. But notice that the dimensions are a lot smaller. The arrows are a lot smaller so that you can draw something that, hey, this is only 5/8 of an inch or something like that. If we were to switch this to the working plan view, let's save the small details view and select this. Look how large the arrow and dimension is, and text and etc. So this small detail plan view is specifically for if you're just trying to come into a plan really quickly and do some kind of small little detail work. Here's that smoke detector requirements view. So that's kind of going over what we just went over. Is I send this view at a particular size, and then the label is already, indicating smoke detector requirements. And then window order overview, we've shown this a couple times. The labels have some smart stuff happening in here where it turns off ceiling height, and then it turns off any additional info in the window label and only shows the schedule number. And this is specifically just for window ordering. Kind of the last thing I'm going to go over, I think, unless I get some questions, is that I'm going to touch on a few more of the toolbar items that we've got here. Earlier, we kind of went over the various window tools here, which are just quick actions. Single click to make this left sliding. Well, it already is a left sliding. Single click to make it double hung. This one creates, this is specific for if you're trying to use a window to create some kind of a panel. So there you go, it makes a cabinet panel. The use case of which would be that we're going to turn this into a gable end, and maybe we've got to click stairs. I've shown this in a couple of videos, but maybe we've got to click stairs and our room heights are set appropriately, and we're taking the rise angle 30.25, and now we're getting into the build roof dialog, and we're going to set that pitch to be that 30.25 in inches in this case. Need to change our number style back, but 30.25. Pitch in degrees. Yes. Oops, there we go. 30.25. So that's auto building the roof to pitch in degrees 30.25. We use that panel generator tool on a window to create something that looks like a cabinet panel. And then we're going to make an arch that, or excuse me, a shape that matches roof. So essentially we've created something that is a panel that can be a panel that looks like a cabinet that's placed under a staircase. So in case you're ever wondering what the heck that tool is there for, that is a use case for that tool. Is we're going to convert this symbol to a cabinet door or just a door, and then we could place it underneath a staircase and have it match the pitch of that staircase. That's the point of that tool. We've got your typical bay window, box window. These are default tools. If you have my fireplace tools, these are some of the pre-built fireplaces that are there. That's what those are for. Something that's new in the plan here is that I've got an additional staircase here that's built in. That additional staircase, if we just click and draw this or drag and click, it's just a staircase with no railing together with a railing that follows stairs. So that's a very fast way to get something that has no railing with a railing that follows stairs. Simple, simple, simple. I've added some additional wall types in here. I'm probably going to add some more in the next version. So those are in the wall types set up here on the left-hand sidebar. And then one of my favorite tools, I use it all the time, is got some interior wall here set up, and I've got a door or doorway. Drop that doorway in. The no jam tool removes jam encasing so that we've got just a sheetrock opening. Super fast and easy. Excuse me. Making noises right in the mic. That's always fun. All right. Aside from that, there's some additional stuff in the bathroom toolkit. There's a lot of additional items in the bath items. So we've got some of those items up here. I just conformed the single sink vanity and double sink vanity to utilize the default cabinet labeling conventions. So that drops that in. It also utilizes default materials. So it's going to pick up your trim for fixtures, etc. once you place this inside. So place it, unblock it, and you're going to get an evaluation error until you zoom in or rebuild the scene or something like that, or place another cabinet, but then it'll pick up, you know, the correct labeling conventions. And then if this is a bathroom, or say, let's say this is a bathroom in this case, that cabinet label should pick that up and change the prefix to vanity bath. So it's assuming that this is some kind of vanity cabinet. So there we go. And then sometimes you might want to isolate these cabinets from your main schedule and put this in just a vanity bath schedule. So that takes a little bit of work, but not too much. Other things that I've gotten here is just a sink and faucet combined, or a faucet by itself, toilet by itself. I've got just a flat mirror. That's, I think, a beveled mirror, if you will. And then in the library, if we get into our shop and get into Pro Plan tools, and then we get into Bath Quick Tools, we've got a bunch of additional stuff here. So we've got some commercial panels that can be used to build out a toilet stall, over toilet cabinets, some towels, some fixtures, additional toilets. I've got my bidet block that comes with an electrical outlet. This is kind of a clever one. Let's just... So let's see if I can grab that. So this is an architectural block. You just place this, snap it to the wall, unblock it. So it's got an electrical symbol. It's got a, I believe it's got a replaceable toilet. Oh, and this is just meant to be placed on the top of any toilet is what this is. I remember this now. So I've got that toilet. You should be able to align this. You might need to scoot it a little bit, but usually this is meant to be used with a standalone toilet from like the Kohler catalog that doesn't already have a lid, and so that will show a little bit more appropriately than this. But you know, out of the box, this is something that looks pretty sharp. So drop in a light above here. Oops. Toilets, lots of toilets. What else we've got? So that's in the fixtures. We've got some framed mirrors in there, a few shaped mirrors that look really sharp. I've got a toolkit that gives you an operable bath door. I've got, let's see. Oh, I've got a cutaway wall. This is pretty useful when you got a really tight space. You're trying to show this bathroom. This is the 2x4 cutaway wall. It's meant to be inserted into the wall, so that cuts the finish from the wall. And that's all that this is doing. So if you're trying to show into a bathroom your design, because all you're doing is rendering a bathroom design, that's what that tool is for. It's a little different from a doorway, etc. It's not going to affect your plan view as much. And then got a bunch of vanity lights that are included here. Bath standards, bath shower builder tools, including operable flip bench, drains, stretchable valve and shower head together that only stretch in between those two symbols, so we're not warping the symbols. Some hardware blocks, an isometric, and then I've got, beaded inset vanity, a few different vanity tools here that are sprayers meant to be sprayed on a cabinet. Hopefully they're still working. I haven't touched them in a while. Spray this cabinet. It should turn it into, there you go, kind of a dynamic butcher block-esque looking vanity cabinet. So we could drop a sink into this. There we go. How sharp is that, right? Pretty slick. And then a few others to spray these out, change the whole style of them. This is trying to fix some things it can't fix. Let's do this instead. Spray that out. There we go. So that's in the bath tool kit that's included. And then the architectural quick tools, I have a whole bunch of other stuff in here, including skylight overlays, etc. So we're at the 3-hour mark. I really need to go to the bathroom, so I think I'm going to call it. I would like to ask anybody that's still here if you have any additional questions about this. We didn't even get into pulling back clipped cross sections and my method for building out those sections and linking them to the stack details. We didn't really get into detailing elevations, period. So if you've got some interest there, let me know. Also, if you want to build out the annotation tool to work with some things in elevation, we can talk about that as well. So, but I do think I'm going to end this stream. I probably got to go do something that makes me some money. And I'll leave this live for another like 5 minutes. So if you've got any questions, please have a go at it. In this particular view, I'm going to turn on active layer display options. I'm going to type in the word section, and cross-section lines are turned on. Let's see. There's another thing that, let me type in line. CAD clip lines. So CAD clip lines control a side clip, right? Cross-section lines. CAD clip lines. So if we edit the active view and we do a clip width on 400 or something like that, and clip the elevation. Now this is going to show us our CAD clip lines, right? And this is going to infinite or pretty large side clip. So clip width, let's just say it's 20 inches. Why not? Is that doing anything? No, it's not. It's funny. Seems like that's a little bit of a glitch there. But you should be able to clip the width of your cross-section view, your back clip cross-section view, which, that's funny, there's my clip width right here. Yeah, it's doing something kind of weird. Not my fault. But we can build out framing in this particular view and then auto detail this particular view, right? And then we've got just our call out tool. And then by default, the arrow style I use for this is a big bubble. And that's because I'm expecting you to link this to this detail so that anybody viewing this page is going to go to that detail, right? Link this to a new detail, bubble that section so that they're looking for that detail for this particular part of your cross-section view. If you want to use different arrows, I believe I now give you a way to do that. Maybe I don't. I think at some point I did. Let's switch to master. And if we go master, there we go. That's back to a default arrow. That's just by changing your annotation set here. So if you need the regular arrows versus these big bubbles, that's how you would do that. After break, I could come back. I think 3 hours was what I was thinking in my mind for how long I was going to be working on this. This is like a free training session, right? Targeted free training session. We could keep going forever on how to build out a whole building. One of these days, maybe I will live stream building out a whole thing, but I'll probably only do that to the membership area. Oh, there are a few additional tools that are in 3D only, and that's this I'm not sure if I include this, but one of my favorites is the ghost. You get to spray things and make them invisible. That's always kind of fun. But the other one I do is oftentimes when I'm trying to build out symbols, I'm going to spray this graphic here and help me understand how the symbol is UV mapped. Yeah, I think I'm done. I think I'm going to call it. So in case you didn't know, let's just kick in a little ticker here. Should have had this ticker going the whole time. And I don't even know how to find it because I'm getting blinded by the sun. Ooh, sun is just coming in and hit me in the face. Where's my little ticker? I can't find it. Of course I can't. Banner, that's what it is. There we go. More info at. That's what I was trying to get to. And that's it, guys. I appreciate you being here. Oh, and I'm back. I'm supposed to end the stream after you click that. Make it look professional, right? Let's try it again.